when a man sells his daughter as a slave. Yes. You heard me correctly.
Oh my God.
You, if you want to sell your own daughter.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So when you take that captive, the woman already knows that this is going to happen.
That doesn't make it okay, bro.
With all the respect, nobody is concerned about your expectation. Like, religion is not based on your expectations, right?
It's okay.
We're living a reality.
I'm talking about when I was.
Oh my God, that's funny. Yes. All right. So
in terms of, I believe it was the Prophet.
Again, another suggestive video
on,
of course.
Sort of, I guess like a war or some battle or something. And let me just paraphrase it. The Arab women, they were allowed to take them in their right hand and possess them in their right hand, and have intercourse with them, even though it says like they were missing their wives. They were without their wives. But my question is like, zina is forbidden. Would that not be considered zina? Like, why? Like,
okay.
My imam would tell me that, like, yeah, maybe, I don't know.
It's okay. I don't blame the imam. Maybe he's not equipped probably to deal with this question. Some imams are not, like, because these are more of an Islamophobic thoughts that the average Muslim usually does not encounter. You have to kind of misrepresent certain things and put them in a certain light in order for it to be a question. But it's interesting what you said. I just wanted to comment on what you said first. Like, we welcome you to Islam. We're happy, alhamdulillah, you're a Muslim. And I just wanted to comment on an interesting thing you said about God being a white man. Because you see that, as you said, if you read the history, you know that the religion was enforced on the African people, right? I'm North African, I'm Arab, I'm North African still, right? How the religion was enforced on the people. Now, what I find funny always, anyway.
Okay, so he said that it was enforced on the Africans. Like, it's okay. It's funny whenever I see like a lot of Arab Muslims will complain like, oh, these guys have such a one-dimensional view on our history and our religion. Then I see these people have a completely one-dimensional view on Christianity and just like slavery, because it's like no. It's not. I'm not really gonna talk much about this because I've talked so much about this on my videos, like the actual realities of like the transatlantic slave trade. All I'm gonna say, it was nuanced, guys. It was nuanced. I even talked about this on like why the African slaves, specifically for Barbados, even converted to Christianity and all that. I don't really feel like repeating myself. You can go find it. Like, bro, you want to really hear me talk about like slavery in the Caribbean and comparison to Islam? Again, I have two wonderful videos. They're at the very top of my playlist, my Islam reactions playlist, called The Zanj Rebellion, okay, and slavery in the Islamic Caliphate. I went into so much details about the actual realities of slavery compared to the British Caribbean and compared to the Islamic world there. I don't feel like repeating myself. Oh my goodness gracious me. And not only that, but literally recently, in my previous video that I did a couple of days ago, I even pointed out that slavery was such a controversial issue in Britain. Anyways, like from the very get-go, slavery was a controversial issue. Okay, I even said, go look up the West African Squadron. Go Google the British Crusade against slavery. I mean, I don't feel like repeating myself. Okay, I'm so tired of that. Okay? The British, it's so funny. All I'm gonna say is it's so funny. Like, I see like morons. Like, I read a moron the other day, calling me a coon, talking about some. Oh, I'm just doing these videos to get donations. What? You think I'm gonna spend like a good 2 hours on these long ass videos If I was truly Cooney, bro. Again, like I said before, I'm literally Creole. I'm literally freaking like British mixed with West African. I mean, I even said this before. Go Google a Scottish guy and a West African guy, and you'll literally just put their faces next to mine, and you'll clearly see that my face will obviously looks like the Scottish guy because that's what I am. I'm Scottish descent, anyways, and my surname is literally Scottish. Anyways, Scottish and English. But anyways. The British public hated slavery. It's either they were indifferent to it or they just absolutely hated it. The British public sounded enormous outcry for slavery. Okay? That's all you Arab Muslims need to know. That is a historical fact. The British public hated it. They did everything to make it end. This is why I said, this is why slavery ended in the British Caribbean 30 years before places like America. Slavery ended in the British Caribbean 1833 to 1834. Now compare that to America that ended theirs 1864 to 1867. Brazil, which ended theirs in the 1890s. And if you really want me to get practical, and if you really want me to compare it to the Arab world, there's no comparison there. Just go Google the dates of when this like slavery technically ended. In some countries within the Arab world, I saw like in the 1960s, I was like, oh my God. I saw 20th century, I was like, wow. And these are the same people who want to come in my comments and just yap about European colonizers. A few bad people. That's what they was. A few bad people who went and just abused their power. Literally. That's literally. Yet majority of the people for the British in the British Empire hated it. There was such a small minority of people that genuinely wanted it to be around. It's such a small minority. It's crazy how like history is so like distorted. But anyways, that's all I gotta say regarding that. So whenever I hear stuff like the slaves were forcibly converted, I'm like, oh my God, it's so much more nuanced than that. I am not even going to talk about that here.
What I say to the people is that, look, the white men have enforced the religion on the African people. Now the white man himself left the religion, and you have the African people defending a religion that the white man left, that was enforced on them. So for me,
and yet Christianity originated from Africa, most likely. I talked about this when I brought up Ethiopia. Many historians literally say that 90%, like they're very confident that Christianity came from Africa. Remember what I said? This is actually the perfect time for me to bring this up. Remember, guys, I said the slaves of Barbados, they didn't have a problem converting to Christianity because it was coincidentally similar to what they were already practicing anyways. So what the heck were they practicing beforehand that was coincidentally similar, that they had no problems to it? Remember, guys, Christianity most likely, according to many historians, came from Africa. So this whole like white man, like, bro, you sound like an apologist. Like Muslim Lancer just sounds like an apologist. He's not really like being objective. He's just like bringing up stupid narratives. And again, I even brought up the fact of how like the British population hated slavery, because that's like the main example people love to do, right? Like, oh my God, Britain did slavery. Okay, so then like, should African Americans hate America? Because slavery was so much more worse in America. But yeah, I don't see people giving the same energy towards African Americans. And also, the scriptures actually technically bars and bans slavery.
this is like what's going on? Like, they enforce their religion on you, and they themselves, they don't want it anymore. They left it. And now, even though you are enforced, you are the one who's defending it. So it's like, for me, it's like crazy. Now, to deal with your question, because that's a common question, and I wanted to make a video about it. So we'll make just this video is the video about it, and to explain this. Yeah. So there is something in Islam called Milk al-Yamin. Milk al-Yamin in Islam is right hand position. Now, there's a huge difference, and this is what Islamophobes try to do. They try to compare slavery to Islam, Milk al-Yamin. They try to say that these two things are the same thing. Now, can you define for me what slavery is? Because I want to expound on this topic. What do you consider slavery? What is slavery?
Slavery is forcing somebody into work with no compensation and no benefit towards them.
Okay, excellent.
Slavery is only another human being. That's the official definition of slavery, by the way. Slavery is literally only another human being as property. That's literally slavery. I've done so much research into this, of course. Being from a place that was like one of, if not the main hubs of the transatlantic slave trade. Yes, I'm aware of that. Barbados does have a very unfortunate dark history, but I already explained this before. You know what's funny? Do you know what's funny about that? And a lot of people don't know this. Even white people don't know this. The slave owners were lying. They were lying. So you had the Arab world, the Muslim Arab world, that was openly doing their own slave trade, which, by the way, killed more people from Africa than the transatlantic slave trade, mind you. Right? They castrated their slaves too, by the way. That's crazy. They don't bring that up. Castrated their slaves, and everyone just openly accepted it in public. Everyone openly accepted it. Now, compare that to what was happening in the British Caribbean anyways. These people were literally lying because, again, slavery was such a controversial issue from the very get-go. We were in Britain that these slave masters literally were like, don't worry, guys. We are civilizing them. Don't worry. That was one of the main reasons they were using religion. They were using the Lord's name in vain. And they were like, yes, we are preaching to them Christianity. We're giving them the word. We're showing them the true way to proper civilization. Don't worry, no ill treatment there. Now, obviously, back then, people didn't have phones. News wasn't instant. So, these places that are so far away, I mean, who was supposed to go and verify that, right? Now, of course, eventually people actually went to these places, saw what was actually going on, showed the people, and that's when the outcry started to happen. So again, this is why I said there is more nuance to it. I know I sound a bit angry because it's like, oh my god, like the slave trade is probably, the transatlantic slave trade is probably arguably the most misunderstood thing I've ever seen in history. Probably, like, it is so known, but yet it is so misunderstood. The amount of people who have no idea what was actually going on, it blows my mind. Dear God. But yeah, slavery is you own another human being. In the United States, actually, slavery didn't fully abolish. Slavery is still around. According to the 13th Amendment, actually, when slavery was supposed to have ended, but no. They made this caveat, right? In the United States, slavery was mostly over unless you became arrested. Once you are arrested and incarcerated, you are a slave to the country. Literally, it's in the U.S. Constitution. Yes, slavery is done. But, if you get incarcerated, you're still a slave. That's that one caveat. So no, slavery is still actually legalized in America. In fact, one of the main reasons why they actually added this was because they wanted to find an excuse to arrest black people. Since they were like free now, they're like, oh my god, no, they're free. What do we do? Oh wait, I know what we can do. Oh, let's just add this one caveat where it's like, yeah, if you do a crime though, you got to pay for it by becoming a slave. So they added that, and it's still there in the U.S. Constitution. By the way, you can go look it up, right? And what did they do after that, right? They invented Jim Crow laws, as this is what's taught to us in American history classes. Jim Crow laws. What were Jim Crow laws? Well, Jim Crow laws were basically laws, BS laws. I'm just gonna say in layman's terms, they were BS. Okay, it was complete BS. It was just like the most absurd laws that you could think of, just to basically re-enslave the free black people. I'm not even kidding. Like laws like I'm trying to think of like one simple law. They would like literally go up to like black people and be like, I want you to name all 50 states right now. If you can't name all 50 states, you're going to be arrested. Obviously, nobody knows all 50 states. Well, unless you're like really into geography. But the average person, especially back then, they didn't know that. So of course, they couldn't name it all. Guess what? They're arrested. They're back a slave. It's like Jim Crow laws did not end up until like very recent modern history. It's absurd, by the way. Go check the statistics of like the percentage of ethnicities that are currently in U.S. prisons. Overwhelmingly black, by the way. I could go and talk about this all in all, how the U.S. purposely sabotage its black community to essentially just have an excuse to just re-enslave them. But anyways, I'm just saying though, that's what slavery is. You own someone, they're your property. In fact, when you are pregnant, yes, in Florida, because I live in Florida, when you're pregnant as a woman, Florida law literally says the man owns her. Like straight up, like she is the property of the husband while she's pregnant. So she's legally a slave. I'm not even kidding. You could go look that up. It's either Florida or a different state. But I heard like one of the states, it's either, I don't think it's federal law. I don't think it's like countrywide, but I heard it's like a state law. I'm pretty sure in Florida, it was in Florida. Where it's like, yes, if you're a woman and you're pregnant, like your husband literally owns you up until you give birth to your baby.
And they have no freedom to escape as well. Right?
No.
And they're considered
more or less
property. Yes, they're considered a property of that person. So this is the definition of slavery. If this is the definition of slavery, then this does not exist in Islam, to put it completely simply. Now, talking about milk al-yamin, how can you have milk al-yamin in Islam? Milk al-yamin are captives of war. People who are taken in war when you're fighting against another army. The women that came with the army. So it's not like Muslims can defeat an army and then go into the city and take the women. That's not the case. So the women that came with the fighting army, because, you know, the army used to come, the women be in the back, you know, they have tents in the back and things like that, and the army goes and fights. So the women who come with the army, some women do not come, they stay in the city, and some women come with the army, they come with their husbands, etc. So the women who came to come with the army, some of them they use arrows and bows as well to fight. Some of them are for healing. They deal with the sick and all of that. So there are many reasons. So the women that come to fight in the war are the ones who are taken captives, but not only the women, also the men. So milk al-yamin can be man or woman. It's not just women as well. It can be both. So it's a captive of war that is taken. Now the question is, when there is a war and we take captives, do we have to make them all? This is a starting thing that I want to talk about. Do we have to make them all milk al-yamin? The answer is no. The Quran says that there is options. These options, who determines which option to take? The leader of the Muslims at the time, for what he sees as most fit for the situation, most beneficial for the situation of the Muslims, he makes that decision. What are these options? You can ransom them, send them to the enemy, and then get money. Or you can exchange them with other prisoners. You can send them and get some of the Muslim prisoners that were taken. And you can let them go free completely. Like the Prophet ﷺ, what he did when he conquered the conquest of Mecca, when he took the captives of the conquest of Mecca, he let them go free. Or you can even kill them, because those people were coming to kill you to begin with. So there is no doubt that they were coming to take your life. And at that time, there's no prisons. So you can say another option, put them in prison. There is no prisons. There's like to put them in a prison or something, right? So these are the options. And the last one is milk al-yamin. Now, the leader of the Muslims, he looks at the situation of the Muslims. What do we need the most? Maybe there's a lot of prisoners that are taken, so let's exchange prisoners. Maybe you need money now, so let's ransom them for money. So he looks what is the best situation, and then he behaves based on that. Now, those people are taken as milk al-yamin. How are they dealt with in Islam? First thing, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, now I want to say also that many scholars, or a lot of scholars, believe you cannot have intercourse with milk al-yamin if that woman is not a Jew or a Christian. You also stipulate that woman has to be from a Jewish or Christian religion. That's a big opinion that is taken in a lot of the schools of thought. But now, moving forward, how do you deal with those people that are taken as captives of war? So because they're taken as captives of war, it is a punishment for them that they are captives of war. So there are certain duties and jobs that they need to do. So they will work, they will serve whoever that person that is taken. But in return, the Prophet ﷺ said, he said that you have to feed them from the same food that you eat. You have to clothe them from the same clothing that you wear. You cannot overburden them in work. If you overburden them in work, then you have to help them in the work. Okay?
Okay.
And the Prophet ﷺ, he said you cannot hit them. In fact, if you hit them, you have to let them go free. They're no longer your Milk al-Yamin. It's not like slavery, Atlantic slavery, and beating slaves and all of that. It's no such thing, right? And they can go free by ransoming themselves. So what they can do is they can go to a judge and give an amount of money. There's something called mukataba, and they say to the judge, I want to go free. And they give him that amount of money, and then they go free. In fact, the Quran commands or recommends that the person who has Milk al-Yamin to help Milk al-Yamin to ransom. If he needs money, to help it, to help them finances as well to go free.
You could have done the same thing, both in the British Caribbean and in America. You actually could have paid for your freedom. You could have. Now, it was hard as hell, but no, many slaves actually managed to get their freedom by buying for it. It's insane. In fact, Barbados, right? Barbados. I'm going to talk about Barbados, but I could talk a lot about America, but I will talk about Barbados. Barbados is like in this weirdly unique position, and you guys are going to want to hear this actually, because Barbados is like I said earlier in the video, one of, if not the main hubs for the transatlantic slave trade. I'm not even making that up. You could Google that. I remember I was watching a video, a documentary, where they were showing like where the slaves were being held captive, waiting to be shipped off to other parts of the world, and they were like digging and like examining the fossils of the people that unfortunately lost their lives there at that spot. It was like, wow, it is unfortunate, but yet it's very interesting. Barbados became so Anglophile. I'm talking like, guys, it's called Little England for a reason. It's called the most British Caribbean country. How the hell does that happen? You have this place, which was, millions of slaves were shipped to there, and away from there. You even had the Barbados slave codes, which were, oh my god, that was messed up. Those slave codes were, wow, insane. Basically saying you're basically nothing but cattle, and you could be treated whatever way you want. It's unfortunately heartbreaking. You could go look that up, but yet it became ridiculously Anglophile. Now you could say, wait, but Barbados became so British because obviously the white man controlled it. But no. That didn't happen with the other Caribbean countries. Barbados became so unique in it that it became so heavily anglicized that, we're basically, we're basically just British people. In terms of culture. Now, of course, we are Creole, really, because we have our West African influences as well in our culture, in our language, Bajan Creole. My name is called Bajan Englishman. I speak Bajan Creole. Yes, I do. Most people don't know what that is, but of course, I'm just saying that. But the reason why Barbados became so heavily British, it's not for the reason that you think. It's because, and I mentioned this a while, but I haven't mentioned this in like a year. It's because slaves on Barbados were actually privileged. Like, there's this old saying that elders used to say, the good slaves go to Barbados. If you're a good slave, they'll send you to Barbados. If you're a bad slave, you'll be sent to Jamaica. Jamaica. Oh my God. Oh my God. Slavery on Jamaica was awful. So bad. So bad. I'm not even gonna talk about it there. It was just really bad compared to Barbados. Barbados was like complete opposite of sorts. I'm not sure if I want to talk about the details of like how like slaves lived their lives and whatnot, but all I'm just saying is like one of the reasons, and probably the main reason why Barbados became so British was because the way how the slaves were treated by the British. Not just that, but the original slaves weren't even black. They were actually white. Like I said this before a few days ago. That's where my ancestors came from. They were slaves from Scotland and Ireland. So then the black people came and they mixed, and that's where you get the black Creoles, people of Scottish and West African descent, such as myself, right? So it's I'm just saying this because it's like it was kind of the same. It really is really nuanced. It's so nuanced. It literally every place is so different. Because if I just go and I come in here and I just say like, oh, but look, guys, Barbados wasn't so bad when it came to slavery, and try to paint it as it was like this everywhere else, it was not. I will say though, why did it become that way? Why? Because one, the British heavily guarded Barbados so much because the Barbados was like the richest colony in the entire British Empire at its peak. It was the richest colony in the entire Western Hemisphere. Okay? Third richest colony. Only behind Boston and New York. To give you an idea of how much money Barbados was, Barbados was making more money than the entire 13 colonies of the early United States combined. I always tell people always look at me whenever I look at them and I tell them there wouldn't be a British Empire without Barbados. There wouldn't be a British Empire without Barbados. And people just say, oh, you're just saying that because you're from there. You're just saying that because you're... I'm like, no. It's so unfortunate how people don't know this. People will always say, oh, the British Empire conquered the world. And I always look at them like, where do you think they got that money from? Where do you think? I get it was all from Barbados. It was all from I'm not even kidding. Barbados was so rich in the British Empire. But not just that, but Barbados was also a settlement colony. It wasn't like it was originally a settlement colony turned into a slave colony over time, unfortunately, because the rich elites kind of just like bought out so much land on the island and just unfortunately just abuse, what I said earlier, how they were lying to people, say, yeah, don't worry, we're treating them great. Whole time they were abusing them, right? But even though there was abuse, due to the fact that the British heavily guarded Barbados, the island is only 21 miles long, but it had 46 forts. 46. And yes, you're hearing me talk more in my Celtic, in my Scottish Irish accent there. But I always like talk like that to really emphasize 46 fortresses on one small island. I mean, the place was so heavily fortified. It was literally called Fortress Bridgetown or Fortress Barbados. Every single European that tried to conquer the island failed. Like, it got to the point where Europeans didn't even bother to like just touch Barbados. It was just so heavily guarded. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, the place was like the richest place, pretty much in the British because there were two British empires, right? The first British Empire was focused on the New World. The second British Empire came after. It was focused on like India, the Middle East, right? So before, India, Middle East, all that happened, were colonized, there was the first British Empire. Barbados was the richest place pretty much in the first British Empire. So of course they're going to colonize that place, and it was uninhabited, interestingly enough. And that's another reason why it became so heavily British, because no one wasn't living there anyways. So obviously it's like you have no one on this uninhabited island. one of the reasons also was they sent the slaves to just populate the island. Crazy enough. This is why I said Barbados was such a unique position where it's like, it is an experience worth talking about, which is why I'm talking about it. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, but this represents all the other places, all the other Christian places that was practicing slavery. Because no, it was not. But due to the fact that Barbados was making so much money, so much wealth, was literally propelling the British Empire into the global empire that it would eventually become, that everyone knows to dominate the whole world. And the fact that British guarded the island so well, and the slaves were obedient. Oh my god, I swear to god, I'm gonna get someone in my comments from saying, how dare they be obedient. Well, that's what happened. The slaves in Barbados were obedient. They didn't really rebel. They were docile as hell. They just accepted what was just given to them. So due to those three things, especially the fact that the slaves were especially obedient, they were just like, okay, we have no reason to mistreat, like abuse these guys as like what was going on in places like Jamaica. Jamaica, the slaves were not docile. They were not obedient. The slaves in Jamaica were constantly rebelling. So because of this, the treatment was absolutely harsh. It's funny. A lot of people don't know this, but like the Caribbean community is a small community, but trust me, it's such an interesting space. Because I remember like Jamaicans have this thing where they like look at Barbados. They look at us, right? Jamaicans always like look at us in Barbados and they're like, you're the wannabe British people. You're the people who like to LARP like you're British when you're worshiping your colonizers. Oh, you weren't like us who were fighting back against our colonizers. And I just look at them. I'm just like, okay, well, look where that has Jamaica today. Look where that has Jamaica today compared to Barbados. Barbados is literally called the America of the Caribbean. It's a rich country. It's an absolute paradise. Jamaica, crime rate is off the charts. It's super poor. Extremely violent. But anyways, so I mean Jamaicans will always just say that just out of like jealousy and envy for Barbados being like arguably the best Caribbean island, because Barbados has that reputation of gem of the Caribbean. It's called the America of the Caribbean. It's called Little England due to how British it is. Like, I'm just like, man. So the British was just like, okay, no need to mistreat these guys. They're making us so much money. They're not really rebelling against us. We have firm control over this island. Let them have some privileges. Let them not be as restricted. And this is why, probably the main reason why Barbados became so more like accepting of the assimilation into essentially becoming so British, the most British place. Jamaicans were like, absolutely not, which is hilarious because Jamaica is still Creole. They're like British. They're like British mix of maroon, indigenous, and West African. Jamaican is like such an interesting mix. But anyways, but I'm just saying all this is because it's like, okay, well, people in Barbados were, this historical context really matters because it really shows you like, okay. Like, I guess like it's not as black and white as, these people want to say. I know this is like so long to talk about, but it's like, really and truly, this needs to be said because most people don't even know this information. But anyways.
So this is how they're dealt with in Islam. Also, this idea of milk yamin is not inherited, not like slavery was inherited. If a father is a slave, has a son, the son is also a slave. No, in Islam, milk yamin is not inherited to the next generation. It's just that person, because that next generation is not responsible. The person who's taken as a captive before is the one who is milk yamin. The next generation, if a child is newly born, that child is not inherited. He's not also a milk yamin as his mother was milk yamin. Not only that, Islam commands explicitly to free milk al-yamin. Allah says that's a good deed to do. So Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْعَقَبَةِ, what would make you know what the good way is? فَكُّ رَقَبَةٍ, freeing milk al-yamin. That's the good way, that's the righteous way. You get rewarded for it. Not only that, it's one of the ways to give zakah. You know, every Muslim has to pay zakah. One of the things that you do in paying the zakah is to free milk al-yamin. Not only that, when you commit a sin, there's something called expiation of sins. So if I make a sin and I want to expiate a sin, a way to expiate the sin is to let that milk al-yamin go. So Allah has made all of these options to free them, which will in the end anyways result in no longer having any milk al-yamin. Not only that, unlike slavery, you cannot take a free person and make him a servant. In fact, the Prophet he said to us, Allah is the enemy of three people, and one of them is a person who takes a free person and he sells him as a slave. That's completely prohibited in Islam. The only way that can happen is in war. People who are coming to fight in war, they will come in to kill you. And one of the options that can be done is milk al-yamin. And if that option is done, then that person, you have to treat him like you're treating your family, literally by clothing them and feeding them from what you have. They can go free. But it's a punishment for them that they have to serve you. It's a kind of a community service. You know, today they have the jail, the communities. Oh, it's a form of service. Yeah, it's a form of service that you will do to that individual. And this is, I would say, the kind of a comprehensive analysis of this idea of milk al-yamin.
Yeah, that was very comprehensive. And so just to make sure that I understand it completely, it's like if you have two warring parties, one is Muslim, the other is like non-Muslim, and they send their armies out in the middle to fight each other, and the Muslims prevail. They can take the captives of those who didn't die as milk al-yamin, but they're not allowed to invade the enemy nation that didn't fight and take their civilian populace as milk al-yamin.
No. Once they defeat the army, they already took the land now. So let's assume, look, I'm traveling we are going to fight, let's say, America, right? We defeat the American army, so now we have the government of America. Now we cannot take the civilians of American population who didn't come with the army. This is what I'm saying, yeah? Cannot take those civilians who didn't come with the army and take them as milk al-yamin. That's not the case, no. The people who came in the war to fight you.
Okay, that makes sense. You explained it. I knew it. When I come on here, you're going to answer it the best way possible. So
No problem.
Yeah. So,
what about buying slaves? What about it? This is actually like the Arab slave trade, by the way, was mostly from buying slaves. What does the Quran have to state like about that? It's talking about prisoners of war. What about buying them? Most of the European slaves were bought. There was no capturing and Europeans were too afraid to go into Africa, actually. Most of them. Vast majority, though, there were some instances where they did like capture, but most Europeans didn't know anything about Africa, and they were like, that's not worth. Oh, and diseases. The white man couldn't handle the weather and disease. And you know what's funny about that? That's exactly why the slaves of Barbados came to Barbados, because Barbados being a hot place. It reminds me of a conversation I was having with somebody actually that's living in the Middle East, and we're talking about like the weather over there and blah blah blah. And I was like, wait a minute, it's like super duper hot over there, right? I was like, oh, I can handle that. I'm like, yeah, I can handle that. I'm not used to that. My body literally like straight up all my stats into like heat protection. Oh my god. But like, because remember what I said, the original slaves of Barbados were not black, they were actually white. They were indentured servants, and funny enough, actually, indentured servants, they were classified as slaves, but they actually had more rights. They weren't supposed to be mistreated, they weren't supposed to be abused. Basically, they were like higher on the social ladder, right? Because a lot of people misunderstand slavery. There's many different types of slavery. There's sexual slavery, there's chattel slavery, and that like chattel slavery is like bottom of the bottom. Like chattel slavery is like, yeah, that's the slavery that most people think of when they hear slavery. But most people ignore stuff like indentured servitude, which is like, it's not like chattel slavery where it's like, oh my God, you have zero protection. Oh my God, you could be treated any way you want. No, it's like you have to do the same task as a chattel slave, but you can't really be mistreated too hard. You can't really be abused. You're more protected. And usually indentured servitude had a time period. So if slavery was like, you know, chattel slavery was like, okay, you're a slave for life, my guy. And your descendants too. But indentured servitude was like, okay, I'm a slave for this period of time. And then I'm free. If you survive, of course. This, actually, hilariously enough, was the first slaves. And I say hilariously enough because this is actually where the English, and I say English, not British. British means English, Irish, and Scottish. So when you're hearing me using the term British, Scottish, English, no, like pay attention to that because yes, they're different. But the English captured many Scottish and Irish people. They were captives from Cromwell, Oliver Cromwell, from his many wars, because Scotland did not, and Loki still does not like England. They fought many wars. Many wars. So a lot of these prisoners of war, it was like, okay, what do we do with these prisoners of war? And they was like, oh, wait, we have these new places that we just discovered, and they're uninhabited. Send them there. Like 50,000, like initially 50,000 Scottish people were deported to Barbados initially. In fact, there's so many Scottish people got deported to Barbados. The term Barbadoed became a thing, basically meaning like, you know, as I said, being deported to Barbados. So they were prisoners of war. However, and a lot of people love to downplay like indentured servitude, and especially like black people, because a lot of black people like to pretend like, oh my God, we're such victims. Nobody else can't be victims but us. But the thing with indentured servitude is that, yes, on a piece of paper, it was like, yes, these people had their rights. In actual practice, this shit wasn't really honored. In actual reality, whenever a term limit for indentured servant was coming up, some BS excuse would be invented to basically just keep them as indentured servants, essentially just slaves for their whole lives. Yes, were there some instances where they were set free? Of course. But just like how the black slaves also became privileged on Barbados eventually, right? It's so nuanced. It's not like black and white like these people try to make it out to be. This is what I could talk about this on and on, but we're only 8 minutes in the bloody video.
Like I said, I very much appreciate what you've been doing. I watch you guys all the time. Well, I watch you all the time, your debates. I started off with Speaker's Corner. I was like, wow, this
support
guy
the Dawah.
is
I've been hearing a lot of bad stuff about the Dawah recently. I'm not gonna lie, but that's for a different video.
Very, very good deeds for Muslims, new Muslims like me, and potential Muslims. So I congratulate you for doing Jazakallah khair. And
May Allah accept.
Keep up the good work.
May Allah accept. May Allah accept. Jazakallah khair, brother, for coming. Barakallah fiqh. You have a reason. This is a question.
Mansa Musa, the richest man in history, Mansa Musa, was West African, and he had slaves. On his voyage to Egypt, bro literally had slaves carrying him, other West African slaves. It's funny how people don't talk about that.
Question: Do you have like a specific reason, specific thing? You can say, "Oh, this is why Islam is false," or "I left Islam," or whatever. Do you have that?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Tell us what that is.
Well, for me, it was more about finding some I could say slavery in Islam. It wasn't so pleasant to me to know that. Can I use the term my prophet?
No, but is he your prophet? You just said you're not a Muslim.
Yeah, but I was a Muslim, so can I say my
Oh,
ex?
no, just say the prophet. It's fine.
Okay,
All right.
the prophets used
Yes.
to have slaves or trade slaves.
Okay.
It's kind of had like a question in my mind if he like knew it's
Okay.
if it's
Let me
slavery.
ask this then. Let me ask this question then. If that question was clarified for you, then after what are you going to do? If that was the reason that made you think that Islam is not the truth, if that reason was clarified, what is the course of action that you're going to take?
Well, maybe I would consider my. Well, it's not only that situation, but let's
But that's
say
the main thing you said.
I've been
You said
I've
that's.
been.
Remember,
let's say
I asked you the question where you will put your hand and say, "Do you get what my question was?" So that was the reason. So if that is dealt with, then what?
Well, if you answer all my questions, then there is no point of refusing the religion.
Do you know the number of the questions that you have?
I could say that there is couple of questions, but I don't think I can like. So it's kind of like, so my friend is a big fan of yours, and he like suggested to me that you do like a live and you host non-Muslims.
Yes.
It's just like it was like random. I told him, he sent me a link. Like,
do you know why I asked you? Do you know how many questions you have? Because when you don't know how many questions you have, then you just essentially pretending with all. I'm not saying you're doing that, but
can I explain how I got to this situation so you can have like a general.
That's fine. Go ahead.
So I've had like it was like an atheist friend.
Okay.
That he was also a Muslim in the terms of like Moroccan Muslim. Like, I don't know if it's like real practices and everything, but so we had like a debate. I was like the one who was trying to convince him that the religion is right and you're wrong. And he just like kept telling me some stuff that seemed illogical to him, but I didn't go along with him. So I just stopped talking to him and I continued my research for proving that my religion is right. So as long as I kept searching about the topics that he made relevant, like
Jesus
for example,
Christ, bro, and my eyes literally, bro. It's because my lights. When you have these lights in your eyes, oh my god, and you sit in front of them, they freaking hurt.
You didn't find the answers that you were looking for.
Well, I found some answers like.
I'm gonna let him speak before I say anything. I'm gonna let this video play. I think I've talked too much here. We're gonna let the video play now.
That's fine.
Seen, you know.
Sure. So that's how you got to where you are, is what you say.
So that situation, it just like blocked me from practicing my because I used to pray. Trust me, I used to pray, and it just stopped me from doing my practices and started questioning like everything, and then I've just like started like
leaving
ignoring religion.
Yes.
And
sure. Okay. Sure. So you know, you remind me of a verse in the Quran where Allah Azza wa Jal says about the person is going to be in hellfire. He says, "Inni kana li qareen." You know, I used to have a qareen, someone who's very close to you, always with you all the time, right? يقول يقول وإنك لمن المصدقين. He says that there's many people who don't. You gotta explain. يقول وإنك لمن المصدقين. He says that qareen, that friend, kept telling him, "Are you one of those believers? أإذا متنا وكنا ترابا وعظاما." If we die, are we going to be resurrected? Our forefathers. So basically, essentially, how that friend, quote unquote friend, because friends weren't good for you, and that was not a friend, took a person away. And that should be a lesson for the people watching, is that the people you surround yourself with can have the influence in your life that takes you all the way from here to here. And that was also a response to those people who talk about apostasy laws and apostasy punishments and all of that, of how one person can take people away from the truth, and it is the truth, by just asking them questions or telling them things while they've not done the research, they don't know, did not ask the right sources. So that's very important, I think, for people to understand. Now let's deal quickly with this couple of questions that you have. First, the idea of slavery. There's no such thing as slavery in Islam. There isn't such a thing as slavery in Islam. Prophet ﷺ, he said explicitly in a hadith, do not say abdi or amati. You cannot say abdi, cannot say my slave. So he prohibited us from using that term, because slavery, in the sense of the word that everyone understands, if you go down Google slavery, for instance, you'll see definitions saying that you own a human being, for instance. You own a human being, you have a position, an owning of that person, and then you have forced labor on that individual. You have forced labor. You force that person to do labor. You lash them. They have no dignity. That does not.
That's a type of slavery. That's not slavery. That's just a specific branch of slavery. Slavery, no. Slavery, like, they were carpenters. A lot of skills, like these skill jobs that you see, like blacksmith, both in Barbados and in the US. Yeah, a lot of skills like that. Ship making. Yeah, slaves had that. Like genuine skill. Like many slaves were apprentices and whatnot. This is why, like, so many of them were kind of just able to just buy their freedom. Like, this is why I went on that whole yapping spree early. This is what I mean by like slavery. Oh my God, it's so misunderstood. The transatlantic slave trade is so misunderstood because, you know, Muslim Lantern here, you know, provided just a perfect example. What I mean, he says like, oh, he was going right at first, like yes, like that person is your property, but then he says, oh, you do labor. I'm like, oh my God, of course. Yes, the cliche. Like I always tell people, you know what he just said reminded me of what I always tell people. I was like, oh my God, slavery in Barbados isn't like, I'm gonna whip you 24/7 to make you go work in the field. I'm like, oh my God, it was so much more nuanced than that. Like, my God, man. I mean, for Barbados anyways, but so many slaves were able to actually even amass like wealth, genuine wealth, that it was like even comparing to like white people on the island. It's crazy. And then there's the Creole people, right? The people who are mixed from the pure blacks and the pure whites, who were usually free people of color and all that. Creole people, my people. Like I said before, my ancestry DNA thing, when I got my results, they said that your ancestors were probably not like slave laborers. Like, it was reading on like some like potential ancestors, and it was like, wow, they had pretty chill lives. And I'm like, they had really chill lives. Although they were talking like the black side of things. The white side, I didn't really say anything on my white side, you know, the European side. But I already know about my white side from my father, because he explained that to me. He's like, yeah, these are our ancestors right here. So I was like, oh, okay.
Exist in the religion of Islam at all. Okay? So you take someone who's free, you after you take them, you kidnap them and then you enslave them. That's what slavery is. You take a free person, you kidnap them, you enslave them, they become your property, you have forced labor on them, you hit them, you do all of it.
No. Again, just God, why? Oh my God, why can people just not do proper research on this topic. Like I said earlier in the video, most of the slaves were literally bought. That's why I asked earlier. I was like, what does the Quran say about buying them? Buying slaves that were already slaves. What does the Quran say about that? Oh my God, bro. This is gonna be unbearable to watch. Because he's like repeating like common narratives. Like obviously, like most people believe this. Most people aren't as informed about slavery as I am. But I'm like, oh my God, guys, like this is gonna be unbearable to watch.
Is the definition of what everyone understands with the word slavery, and that does not exist in Islam. What exists in Islam is something called milk al-yamin, and they are captives of war. Milk al-yamin, or right hand position, are specifically to do with being captives of war. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ told us that there are 3 people that Allah will be enemy of on the Day of Judgment. One of them is he takes a free person and then he makes him a slave. That's prohibited in Islam. Only in the case of war, you allow me to finish the complete explanation. And then, because I probably would respond to what you want to say after.
Okay,
right?
I would take notes then.
That's fine. Take notes. That's okay. So he said that you take a free person and you make them a slave. Now, the only open door. So Islam, when Islam came, slavery already existed. Existed in the Roman Empire. Existed in existed throughout history. Islam did not introduce slavery. Slavery was a part of society. It was in existence. Islam regulated slavery and removed that term slavery and introduced something completely different, which is the concept of milk al-yamin, which is
Islam basically reformed slavery. It was basically still slavery. It's basically still slavery, just in a different form. Literally, it's still slavery, just different form. I give credit to Islam. At least it's like, okay, these slaves actually have like proper rights. But there are many cases where like you see that from non-Islamic sources. In cases of the transatlantic slave trade as well, that I literally provided. Right, I talked about the Anguilla slave laws in my previous reaction the other day. I don't feel like repeating that, because I was like, yes, the British public hated slavery so much, the Anguilla slave laws were introduced. Interestingly enough, though, didn't apply to Barbados. Not the Anguilla slave law, sorry. The Lesser Antilles slave codes. Basically giving slaves rights. I talked about how indentured servitude, which is hilarious, because with his logic, right? This is like the same logic that I hear people love to say for indentured servitude. But wait a minute, it wasn't called slavery, it was called indentured servitude. So those are not the same thing, bro. I'm like, bro. Just because you remove the name, like the system is essentially still the same. It's just more nuanced. It's just that this slave is more privileged than the other. That's basically what I'm getting from this. In Islam, if you're a prisoner of war, you'll be a slave, but don't worry, you'll be treated fairly. You'll be treated fairly. That's what I'm getting from this. Because remember, the indentured servitude of Barbados, right? You see, indentured servitude is technically a system where you willfully make yourself become a slave, basically to get a reward afterward. Usually, okay? I say usually. That was supposed to be the idea. But then, of course, many English kings, fighting all these wars with Scotland, Ireland, right? They took all these prisoners of wars from them and just forcibly made them indentured servants against their own free will. So it's like, on paper, say, yeah, you're an indentured servant for this long, but it's like, but you forcibly made them. So they're basically a slave. And like I said earlier, a lot of these contracts were just not really honored, to be honest. Like, again, like I said, it's like so nuanced. So anyway, let's unpause here.
Now, it can only be open through war. Now, you have a war with an army. 2 armies are Muslims are fighting, the Muslim army and a non-Muslim army. Now, not everyone that you take and you capture becomes a milk al-yamin, actually. The leader of the Muslim army decides. So Islam restricted it 2 ways. In first way, only kept it in captives of war. The second way is that even captives of war do not have to be taken as milk al-yamin. The leader of the Muslims can do different things. He can let them go free, like the Prophet ﷺ did after the conquest of Mecca. He can exchange them for other prisoners. He can ransom them for money. فَإِمَّا مَنًّا بَعْدُ وَإِمَّا فِدَاءً. So you can either you let them go free, or for that you can exchange them with other, as the Quran explicitly mentions, or you can explicitly change them with prisoners, oil, money, etc. Or you can take them as milk al-yamin, or you can kill them. It depends, because they're coming to kill you. They're coming to take your life. It was war. They were coming to kill you. So these are all options, and the leader of the Muslims will make the decision that is most beneficial for the people, for the Muslims, for the nation. What is most beneficial for Muslims in general, he will take that decision. It depends on the situation, it depends on these people, and what is most beneficial. Now, when you take these people who are captives of war, what happens to them? You take these captives of war. What is the dealing that happens with them? Let's say I took one captive of war. That captive of war can be man or a woman, either or. You take that person. That individual, how do you deal with them? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us how you deal with them. He said that person, you clothe them from the same clothes that you wear. So if you wear, Armani, you're gonna give them. You're gonna give your what people call slave. I don't know what slave you give them Armani, but because there's no such thing as slavery in Islam. So you would give that milk al-yamin Armani. If you wear Armani, they will wear Armani. You feed them from what you eat. You eat caviar in the morning, caviar. You give them some caviar in the morning with some orange juice or whatever you have in your breakfast. So the Prophet said you clothe them, and the Prophet said if you overburden them in work, so they will help in duties, of course, because they're milk al-yamin. They're living now in your house. You're feeding them, you're clothing them. There has to be something that they're doing in return. Mm-hmm. So they will be helping you either in work or house laborers or whatever it is. So they're helping you in return of the fact that you're living in your house, eating from your food, living under your roof, being clothed from the same thing that you're wearing. And the Prophet said if you overburden them, you have to help them. So you have to make sure that you're not overburdening them in work. Now, can you hit them? No, because as we said, there's no such thing as slavery. The expiation, if you hit a servant, that you let them go free. And there's a narration of hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where a person did that. He hit milk al-yamin, the Prophet ﷺ forced him to let that person go free. That is the expiation for the action that you did. You cannot hit them. They're not like you're going to have a lash. You're going to lash them. You're going to have this whip and you're going to whip them. This is not it. It doesn't exist. So these people are taken as captive of war. They help you. Now, do you own these people or can they go free? You do not own them because they can go free. They can choose to go free. Do you know how they can choose to go free? There is something in the Quran called mukataba. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, فَكَاتِبُوهُمْ إِنْ عَلِمْتُمْ فِيهُمْ خَيْرًا وَآتُوهُمْ مِنْ مَالِ اللَّهِ الَّذِي آتَاكُمْ. So Allah Azza wa Jalla says there's something called mukataba, in which a person who is milk al-yamin can ransom himself and go free. Now, he can, in exchange of money, he can go to a Muslim judge. And at the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab, there was someone who did not want to do that. And Umar ibn al-Khattab told him to do it. Allah says in the Quran, and he mentioned the verse, فَكَاتِبُوهُمْ إِنْ عَلِمْتُمْ فِيهُمْ خَيْرًا. So he wants to go free. So he goes to a judge, Muslim judge. He gives money. And in exchange of that, he goes free. So Allah says, if you know in that person goodness, that they're a good person, they're not going to go, if you let them go free, going to kill and rape and steal and do evil. They're a good person, then let them go free. And Allah says, وَآتُوهُمْ. So you help them with money. فَآتُوهُمْ مِنْ مَالِ اللَّهِ الَّذِي آتَاكُمْ. You even help them to go free if they want to ransom themselves and go free. So it's not like that these people, you got no choice, that this is the only place that they can be. And they actually have the freedom and the choice to go free if they want to go free. Now,
okay, let's talk. Let's just sit down here and just talk about this. Yeah, a lot of Christians, again, going back to what I said in my previous videos, I already like hearing what Christians have to say. This is why I always sit down and listen to what Muslims have to say. Now, yes, I said this before. Everyone has a bias. You can't avoid it. Well, most people, there are some people like me that try to just make things be objective as much as possible. Christians, I've been hearing so many Christians say, oh, but look, guys, in Islam, slavery is permitted. That'd be it. Intellectual dishonesty. Instead of actually providing the actual context. Right? I'm actually glad for this because... Now, yes, I'm aware that a lot of Muslim countries didn't really follow what the Quran said to do regarding slaves. Oh, trust me. Trust me, you don't gotta tell me that. But I don't care about what people are doing. I care about what is actually within the Quran itself. Because remember, guys, according to Muslims, this is the word of God. This is why I pay attention heavily. This is why I pay attention to the wording, the explanations. Because if this is truly divine, then this will truly make sense when you really look at it. Everything should be logical and concrete. You shouldn't be asking questions. Same thing with how I view Christianity as a joke, because most Christians don't really follow the teachings of Christianity. But the teachings are still there. It's just that the people are just bad, unfortunately. That's why you're not really hearing me talk about, but wait a minute, isn't like slavery technically like around, or didn't like Muslim countries like have such a hard time with like ending slavery? That's why you're not really hearing me say that, because the problem isn't that. It's like, yeah, those people are just unfortunately bad. Not all of them, of course. I'm talking about the ones who are obviously engaging in that system still. Because remember, guys, slavery still exists. It's just more hidden. Way more hidden than you think. Remember what I said. Slavery still exists in America, right? Read the U.S. 13th Amendment, right? Big and Bold says, yep. But I'm not talking about that again. I already talked about that. I yapped enough about that. I'm just talking about the Muslim countries here now. So, unfortunately, like, bad people just exist. Bad people just exist. Now, again, let me say this again. I'm not saying that all Muslims are bad. And now you might be saying, but wait a minute, Beijing, why would you need to say that? Because you do not understand how much morons do not listen to what I have to say in my videos. I read my comments. I'm like, I literally talked about this in the video. Or they misinterpret what I say. Again, I am not saying that all Muslims are bad. No, I'm saying that unfortunately, there's a lot of bad people that just so happen to be in Muslim countries that do not follow. And there's enough. I'm not even going to listen to examples because there's enough, more than enough, like, documentation of this regarding like the whole like concept of slavery and within those Muslim countries, right? I mean, really and truly, even in the West tries so hard to enslave you. In fact, human trafficking. People, when they think human trafficking, they think, oh, it must be something sexual. Most human trafficking is actually for slave labor, for cheap labor. Yeah. And a lot of governments in Western countries are literally in on it. I hate talking about that topic, but it's so unfortunate how corrupted it's like, bro. That's something that I'll talk about in a different video. I don't even know if I want to openly talk about how, like, it's just a shocking topic when you realize, like, these, like, so-called, like, civilized Western countries, how just awful they truly are underneath the surface of it. And human trafficking is one of those big ones. Unfortunately, these capitalist countries that, you know, they don't want to like give fair wages, so they'll resort to that. Literally trafficking people. Oh my god, I don't even want to think about that. Whenever I think about that, that's like one of those topics. Usually, never learn like a really messed up topic. I'm usually like very like stoic about it, but it's the fact that this is actively still happening, just every single day, and like. I'm talking like the top-notch people in these Western countries are all in. Oh my god, it's like, oh my god. So yeah, slavery is still very much going on in the West as well. Even though the Bible literally says that technically, I didn't say technically because it didn't like concretely say slavery is banned, but some of the quotes basically is like use basic common sense. Obviously, like I think there's like a quote somewhere I can't remember. Basically say like don't like treat others in a certain type of way, blah blah blah. I would need to go looking in that. But there was a lot of quotes basically like how you should treat other people, and basically this is all accepted by Christians as like obviously slavery is included in this as well. Like it doesn't need to directly say slavery, but obviously common sense would say that yeah, this would definitely include slavery. So yeah, a lot of Christians themselves don't even like follow Christianity properly, right? Again, and you're seeing me bringing up these two sides of the coin. You're seeing me go on the Muslim side here, and then you're seeing me go on the Christian side here. Because again, I'm being objective. I'm not on anyone's side. You know, I read some comments recently where I see some Muslims are like, "Oh, I barely watched your video and I see your bias." Or I'm like, "What bias did you see?" Christ Almighty, man. But yeah, I gotta give it to the Quran. Makes sense what he's saying regarding like, but it's talking like in the context of prisoners of war, though. It's not really talking about a different context of like buying slaves that are already slaves. Because the system that was going on already. Well, I'm gonna on pause, let the video play, then talk more. I need to catch my breath as
If they
well.
still choose to remain, the treatment will be, as we said, they're clothed from the same clothing you wear. They're fed from the same food that you eat. Cannot overburden them in work. If it is not inherited as well. Milk al-yamin is not inherited, not like slavery. That you have a child and then that child is also milk al-yamin because you are milk al-yamin. That's not the case. It's not the case in Islam because it's not inherited. So whatever that is, whatever this understanding that I just gave you for milk al-yamin is, it has nothing to do with the definition or understanding that people have of the word slavery. So that slavery does not exist in Islam. Yes, what do you want to say?
So I just wanted to say if are they like free to go, and also you mentioned
I just
that,
told you about mukataba. Did you pay attention to that?
yes, I've paid attention. I didn't know about that. But so in the term of modern term of slavery, they are not slaves.
The word slave is incorrect. Is the incorrect usage
It's incorrect.
because the people understand.
No, they're called Malik Yamin. Okay.
Milk al-yamin. That's the term that we are told to use Islamically. The Prophet said you cannot use the term slave, actually. So it's incorrect. You cannot use that term.
So, well,
I can understand why the Prophet wouldn't want to use that term. Because really and truly, like, it just seems like on the social hierarchy of slavery, because I remember when I talked about that earlier, when I was like, a lot of people really like misunderstand slavery, and there's like a big like hierarchy where like chattel slavery is at the very bottom, the worst type of slavery, and then like you have like indentured servitude, which is like kind of like in between. Bro, my eyes are hurting so bad from like looking at this screen. God damn, I might have to put on my, where's my shades at, man? God damn. I'm gonna have to put on my shades for a little bit, guys. Bear with me. Love my shades. Makes me look more like an ultra giga chad, even though I am already a ultra giga chad. Just shows my features more that I have on my face. But anyways, but this feels so much better. This is why I have these shades actually, because if the light gets too bright, I put these shades on the freaking like make my eyes feel better. Dear God. Okay. So yeah, it seems like on the social hierarchy of slavery, right? It just seems like this is on the very top. Now, obviously, there's also serfdom. Serfdom, oh my God. Serfdom is also basically slavery as well. But it wasn't called slavery. Like, oh my God. I'll see like so many like Russians say this, right? Because Russians, right? They had to deal with serfdom. But so many Russians, they don't like to say slavery because of like, you know, Russians are like such prideful people, right? They're like, no, it wasn't slavery. It was serfdom. And then I'll look at them Not all of them. Some Russians will be like, no, this is literally slavery. Even though it was a cause slavery, they'll be like, yes, this is literally slavery. So, long story short, in serfdom, especially in Russia, you're bound to the land. And the land is owned by a lord. But here's the thing, right? The lord doesn't own you. But guess what? Guess what? You're bound to the land. So guess what? You can't leave that land. In fact, historically speaking, serfs actually could have leave for 1 month, but so many serfs were leaving the land that the rulers, the czars of Russia, just was like, oh hell no, because they were leaving, they weren't coming back. So there was oh nope, they're stuck on that piece of land for the rest of their lives. Oh, and you could sell that land, you could trade it to other people, all that. So it's like, wait, you're not a slave. No. This is a slavery, guys. But this is basically slavery, just without the name. Because no one doesn't own you, but you're stuck on a piece of land that someone owns, and you can't leave it. So you're basically just being indirectly owned and being indirectly a slave. It's just another fancier way of basically just like enslaving. That's serfdom, right? Serfdom is like more like, honestly, on the hierarchy, I would probably say serfdom is probably above, well, I don't know. I think indentured servitude is like better than serfdom, because with serfdom, you're just bound to the land for the rest of your life, you and your descendants. Indentured servitude, you were technically supposed to have rights and protection, technically, on a piece of paper. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, there's this hierarchy. So now I'm like listening to this, and I'm like, okay, a round of applause for all this stuff, right? I must give it a round of applause. But this is still slavery. Like, this is literally just still slavery. I swear. Anything where, like, anyone is in a position that preferably they don't really want to be in, like, do you think these people want to be a person of war, be in a position where they have to work? No. No. Do they have privileges? Of course. But let's be real. They wouldn't willfully choose to be in this position now, right? Right. That's what I mean. Like, this is basically just another form of slavery. And a lot of places like to downplay this stuff, to not really use the word slave, because, the word slave is equivalent to someone saying, like, jihad to a whole bunch of Christians. It's like, oh my God, slavery. Oh. It's like, but seriously, like, whenever you say that, oh wow, this is slavery, it's just received more negatively. It doesn't sound good. Basically, it's like sugarcoating the term. But really and truly, right? What the prophet really should have done was he should have just accepted, like, okay, call it slavery. Call it slavery. Embrace it. Yes, this is slavery. However, he easily could have just looked at all the people that weren't Muslims that criticized Islam and be like, okay, we have slavery, but guess what? Look at all the privileges and the fact that we actually let our slaves go free compared to you guys. That would have been the biggest, easiest, probably, like, such a missed opportunity from the prophet. Because saying, like, this isn't slavery, people are just gonna be like, oh, come on, you're just trying to sugarcoat it. Oh, you're just trying to downplay it. And now it's gonna make it look even worse, even though on a piece of paper, this is technically worse. That's not how people are gonna see it, though. They're just gonna think, oh, this is just a stupid propaganda thing. He doesn't even want to admit that this is slavery. Now, if you just say, like, yo, yeah, this is slavery, but look at all this that we have, then those same people would be forced to sit down and be like, shit, he has a point. Like, we have slavery and we don't even like at least give them like any bit of rights or anything like that, or the way how we have our literal laws basically at like permitting slaves to be treated like anything. Well, chattel slavery anyways. I'm talking about chattel slavery here, because most people, they think like slavery is chattel slavery, but that's not all slavery. But I'm just saying, to a random normie, a random neurotypical person, excuse me, a casual, if you will, right? That's how it's gonna look. So honestly, it would have been better for him to just be like, okay, yeah, this is slavery. Anyways.
An incident in the في عصر الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم, and
Okay.
it was like the prophet gave like 7 heads for Safiya bint Yahya, which is
Safiya bint
Malak
Huyay. Safiya bint Huyay, not bint Yahya.
bint Huyay. Okay.
Yes. She was the
And-
leader of the leader of the Jewish tribe.
And was she like Malak Yamin?
Was she Milk al-Yamin? No,
Yeah.
she married the Prophet ﷺ. She was freed and she married the Prophet ﷺ. So she was taken as a captive first, but then she was freed and she willingly married the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, as did Zainab, as did others. Now you saying the Prophet gifted her Milk al-Yamin. What is the issue? No issues.
No. The issue is
Or
like,
I don't know what you mean by 7 heads. I don't know if you're referring to Milk al-Yamin or something else. But what is the issue that you're trying to say?
no, the issue that I'm trying to highlight is that the prophet traded like
No problem. Yes.
seven of
You are
them
allowed.
for-
You are allowed. Yes, you are allowed to exchange and trade when it comes to Milk al-Yamin. There's no issues on that. But as I said, those Milk al-Yamin, if you as a Milk al-Yamin have an issue, you can always go and free yourself by doing mukataba. You have, let's say, you have an issue. You're not happy with whoever that person is. He's not doing right towards you, and Islam commands them that they have to, like the Prophet ﷺ told you. You can go and do mukataba. Where's the issue? But now let's pay close attention. Now let's pay close attention. How do you become? No. How do you become Milk al-Yamin?
by war? Like if
No. How do you
we
become?
have-
How do you become? Yes.
How they became Milk Yamin?
Yes.
It's through war. If
Shit. Bro, sorry. The sentence that he said does not sound right out of context. How did he came? Shit. I'm sorry, guys. It's my brain. My brain, my dirty humor. How did it?
Yeah.
came?
So what were they trying to do? So what were they trying to do?
huh?
So what were they trying to do originally, before they became Milk al-Yamin? What were they trying to do to you?
They were fighting the Muslims.
Which is doing what? Trying to do what?
It was a war.
Yeah. So they're trying to kill you. So that same person that you're supposed to feed from the same food that you eat, clothe from the same clothing that you have, is in reality a person who is coming to kill you. So if you expect a person who's coming to kill you, there's no issues, like a little bit of work.
I really truly understand this issue.
Let's just be realistic.
When we are talking about war, there has to be rules. Otherwise, your enemy is gonna have leverage over you.
All right. Do you know how every other nature? Do you know how every other nation or every other people or religion in human history deals with captives of war? Do you know how they do it?
I know that they are more barbaric than.
No. More barbaric is a beautifying it. Let's try to compare Islam now to any.
That's how this originally all began in West Africa, because West Africa is the most popular place for this transatlantic. When it comes to slavery, people think, oh, West Africa, West Africa. But yeah, most people don't even know how this whole system was set up in the first place. So yeah, originally this was a system that existed way before any Arabs, way before Europeans. What was going on was that the West Africans You know, especially if you look at my ancestry DNA results, you know, it'll say like, I simplify them so much, but my ancestry had like so many different like West African, and a low key a bit of Central African as well. I think I had like what 6% Central Africa or something like that DNA or something like that. But they're like so much different DNA. All like what my ancestry maps show me, and you could go react to my ancestry DNA video if you want. Was like they were all like bunched up, just all bunched up, like this completely separate DNA, so literally crushed, overlapping, like the map of where this DNA was found, overlapping. If you see that, I mean, you could go watch my ancestry DNA video, but I mean, you see that. I mean, I knew the map showed the Gold Coast. That's where the slaves of Barbados from Africa came from. The Gold Coast. It perfectly mapped out basically the entire Gold Coast. I'm not even kidding. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not surprised there. However, it's the DNA. It wasn't one unified, like, yes, you have one unified West Africa. No, bro. It was showing so much different kinds of DNA that were so tightly, like the map was showing them as so tightly close to each other, but they're completely different, despite the fact that they were basically in the same spot. And now, why am I saying this? Because the way how the slavery stuff started, these West African kingdoms and Africa in general, they were extremely different. I know that. I know that. That's why when I saw my DNA results, I wasn't surprised. I was like, yeah, I know that. These places are right next to each other, but the people were completely different. Their DNAs were completely different. Now you might be saying, well, wait a minute. Europe is like all these places are next to each other, but their DNAs. No, guys, like you would really have to watch my ancestry DNA results video. You could go search ancestry DNA results, put my YouTube channel name, and put reaction. It'll show up. Like, and look at the African DNA, the map of the African DNA. Don't look at the European one. Look at the African DNA. Look at how many different types of DNA I had there. All in just one closed spot. So yeah, there was no like unified, we're African. No, because with the European stuff, right? The Europeans, their stuff was more spacious. European DNA is like way more spacious, way more spread out. Was it as crushed like what my DNA map showed for my West African DNA? So really and truly, you hear me in my video saying, oh, I'm majority West African. That's such an oversimplification. And I knew that was such an oversimplification because all of my West African DNA is completely different from each other. But anyways, and it reflects how this was at the time. There was no African identity. They were simply identifying based on essentially kingdom lines or tribal lines. And they just simply viewed the other nearby tribes, again, who were people with completely different DNA, completely different languages, completely different teachings. It's insane how a lot of people don't know that about West Africa. It was so diverse, despite like being so compacted and closed. So anyways, so because of this, right? They didn't like view each other with great regard. Oh, no. They were constantly raiding into other lands of their essentially neighbors, capturing the people there, and turning them into slaves, right? Prisoners of war. Another thing is they were also, they would take criminals, and they would also just turn them into slaves. Like if you are a criminal, you did a crime, you're a slave, right? Similar to, the 13th Amendment. Not even similar, it's the same way actually. That system was around. Then the Arabs came. The Arabs came, and they simply just, when the Arabs came, it just simply, they didn't create the system. No, the Arabs just simply joined in on that system. It was like, oh, so you guys are over here fighting each other, squabbling over each other, and taking like these other people and these other tribes and stuff as slaves. Cool, great. Let me buy some of those slaves. That's how the Arab Muslim slave trade started, pretty much. Then the Europeans came. The Europeans saw this system that was going on. Whereas, oh, these guys are trading with the Arabs, the Muslims. They are constantly fighting each other and taking each other as slaves and captives of war. They're making criminals as slaves. Cool, great. Let me buy some of those slaves. And the system really took off there when the Europeans came. But I don't really feel like explaining why specifically it didn't really like take off with the Arabs. Because, you know, you'll hear me say like, oh my God, more slaves died in the Arab slave trade. But honestly, it would be intellectually dishonest of me to not point out the Arab slave trade lasted 1,000 years. However, 12 million slaves died within all of those 1,000 years. I'm pretty sure it was 1,000 years. Yeah, it was 1,000 years. I'm pretty sure it was a good, yeah, 1,000 years if I'm not mistaken. The transatlantic slave trade, despite the fact it had 9 million deaths, lasted not even half of that. Not even 25% of 1,000 years. So really, actually, more slaves were dying so much more quicker in the transatlantic slave trade compared to the Arab slave trade, right? I mean, 12 million deaths over 1,000 years. That's not really a lot of slaves dying so quickly at one point. 1,000 years is such a long time, guys. Compared to 9 million deaths in basically 100 to 200 years of the transatlantic slave trade. Yeah. So actually, had the transatlantic slave trade not stopped, it would have eventually surpassed the Arab slave trade, because so many slaves were dying so quickly. It's insane. So yes, there is that caveat. Like I said, I keep this stuff objective in my videos. I have no biases. Because I was thinking about that earlier, where I was like, oh yeah, I should have mentioned the fact that the Arab slave trade lasted 1,000 years and the transatlantic slave trade lasted for only 200 years. And the transatlantic slave trade was killing so much more. YouTube, this is an educational video. Please do not demonetize my video. Please do not review my video, YouTube. You guys always send me emails saying, we have reviewed your video and deemed that it is suitable for advertisers. Of course it's suitable for advertisers. You didn't need to review it in the first place. Now you might be saying, wait a minute. Why are you saying this? You're going crazy? I already said this before. YouTube literally has this algorithm reader where it'll take a transcript of a video, look at certain words, and it will demonetize that video. Or what they'll do is they'll send someone to review the video. They won't even notify you when they're doing the review. But when they're done with the review, they'll just be like, your video is going to be demonetized, or your video has limited ads on it, or we determined that your video is suitable for advertisers. So I'm like, bro, really? That's why I have to say this stuff in my videos all the time on these sensitive topics, hey, YouTube algorithm, this is an educational video. Please do not take this the wrong way. And it works. I'm not even kidding. It literally triggers, it does not trigger the algorithm that, oh my God, this video is inappropriate whenever I say that.
Any other religion, whether that be Christianity and Judaism, which believes that that person is property. You can beat him half death. And if he dies the next day, there is no problem because he's your property. So you can beat them, can overwork them. They are your own property. You can go to the extent of literally murdering them. As I just said, if they die the next day, there's no issues. You can do whatever you want to them. They are your property. You just got them. Why? Because they were coming and kill you. This is a justification. Now, someone coming complaining about Islam, the most merciful teaching that could be possibly to captives of war, and there is nothing else in human, no other ideology in human existence that is more merciful than it. Even today, secular laws, what do they do to captives of war?
But still the problem is that they are not really free to go. And we are talking about
How they? Oh, no, wait.
This
shows wait. This just shows that you're not being sincere.
Huh?
This shows you're not listening or you're not being sincere.
No,
did I tell you
they are free to go by mukasaba?
Yes. So how is that not free to go?
That. It just
why don't you do mukasaba then?
Well, how are you gonna do mukasaba if you're just being why
not?
What's the problem? Well, the idea is just I've had like a high expectations when I was
I'm sorry, with all due respect, nobody is concerned about your expectation. Like religion is not based on your expectations, right? It's okay. We're living a reality.
I'm talking about when I was.
Oh my god, that's funny. Yo, Muslim Lantern basically respectfully said, bitch, be humble. This bro really had the audacity to say my expectations. Oh my god. Yo, I'm a narcissistic person, but my god, man. At least I can control my level of narcissism. Like, god damn. That's fun. It's so funny whenever I see like other people who are like so self-centered, so much more like narcissistic, and they're not aware of their narcissism. I just look at them. I swear, whenever I like see other narcissistic people, it triggers my narcissism even more. It's like, bitch, I could be more narcissistic than you. Like, you can't out narcissist me.
Was a Muslim, you know.
Yes, no. But
that's for a different video.
Perfect imagination about God.
That's irrelevant. Let's just
oh my.
Highlight a few things. Can they go free with mukataba if they want it?
As you said, yes. I didn't know about that.
Okay, there you go. Now you know. Okay. Is every other ideology that we see today or we've seen before way worse in every metric when it comes to captives of war? Yes or no? No, they're not worse?
No, they were worse.
They are. No, I'm asking you. I'm just asking you. Yeah, no, I'm asking you. Is every other ideology still worse when it comes to captives of war than what Islam ever teaches, even until this day? Is it worse or not in the treatment and the dealing and whatever it teaches regarding captives of war?
I'm not that knowledgeable, but as you said, they were worse than the Islam, and I trust your word.
No. Well, I get no problem. The Christianity and Judaism already the reference is given. Like you don't need to. It's easily Googleable in 2 minutes. You know what I was just telling you. That's a fact. And I'm talking about even secular laws today. I just told you, even secular laws today. Go watch what happens to people when they get captives of war. Go have a look. They get killed, but get killed after what? After everything is done to them. Whatever you want to do to them, you do to them. And then once you do that,
Islam also,
you know what's happening. You know what's happening today. You know what's happening today. There is captives who were killed, but not what happens to them before they're getting killed. You have today, may Allah Azza wa Jal free our brothers and sisters in Palestine. You see what they were going to actual rape of prisoners. We're not just talking about like they do, and they were doing, the actions of homosexuals. They're not just doing like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
No, I understand.
This is today in 2024 under the UN laws and all of this garbage that they say. This is what happens today. So if anyone wants to talk about Islam, you probably, with all due respect, will need a bunch of 2 slaps on the face first and look at every other existence and civilization in human history before you talk about Islam.
And that's why I went on that yapping spree that I did earlier, providing other clear examples of, slavery that still exists. See, I'm not just saying this out my butt. I don't, bro. Every single thing that I say, I know why I'm saying it. It's all calculated. Every story that I tell you about myself, I'm saying it for a reason. I'm not just saying this stuff to just say it. Most of you guys are smart enough to understand that. But there's a bunch of morons that watch this stuff that don't get that.
Man, so
I don't know why you think.
I'm against everyone who's trying to hurt like
Oh no. This is the point. You are against everything and everyone. Like, you think that we gotta go with your butterfly standards. Nobody needs to. Islam. People who are coming to kill you.
Yeah, he thinks the world revolves around him.
Mutilate them and do all of these things that you do to them. Do literally every human possible.
I hate people like this,
That's
bro.
not allowed in Islam, but it is allowed in other.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, like my narcissism as well. Like, I low-key do think like the world revolves around me, but it's not like this. But like, I can never really understand people who are like completely narcissistic, because it's like I'm in such situations where I am forced to be humble, where I see like other people, I try to explain something and they just don't really understand it, even though I know that it would be best for them. So it's like, how the hell could you be narcissistic and be thinking like everything revolves around you when there's people that won't even like sit down and listen to what you have to say, even if you know for certain that what you're saying is the truth and what you're saying is right. But then again, it's like my narcissism is also like I still have a large influence. Like, my words still have a lot of weight, though. If that makes sense. Like, it's not like complete narcissism, but it's still narcissism where I'm like, I do believe that my words have more weight than other people's words. And this is like, and this is just not me just saying this out my butt, to be honest. I mean, whoo, some of the stupidness I've witnessed that led me to, because again, my narcissism just didn't develop from like I was born with it. No, my narcissism developed over time, but that's a different story. I'm just saying, like, this guy and his narcissism is like, bro, what are you on, my guy? Like, this is not like, you even see me on my videos where, I mean, if you really pay attention, you probably realized it too. Like, I have this weird level of narcissism, but yet at the same time, I'm like humble with it. At the same, it's so hard. But if you really been paying attention to me, you probably understand. Like, you probably clocked it yourself, and you probably just didn't bother to say anything. But it's like, because I could sit down and be like, I'm wrong, or I'm probably mistaken. But when I'm saying something, I am confidently saying it. I'm like, this definitely has weight. I don't care what anyone else says, right? But then again, it's like, if someone comes to me, gives me like a reasonable point, I'll look it over and be like, oh shit, okay. Like, okay, I need to change up my ideals or whatever, right? So it's bizarre. Like, I already think there's like other people that have like the type of narcissism that I have, to be honest. Isn't it like scary how much of a self-aware person I am of my own flaws? I love being narcissistic though. But if you people that know me though know that I'm not just narcissistic to like any and everybody. Like, if I genuinely respect you and whatnot, you're not really gonna see my narcissistic side. I'm not, like, really actually.
Quote ideologies until this day. So Islam,
but this guy here is like, yeah, I don't know.
Islam when it comes to
this guy's just funny.
They're left to right or center. This is the reality. And as I said, they can go free. So where is really the argument that you're making?
The argument that I'm making is God did not forbid.
Why does he need to? That is such a ridiculous. Wait. Let me respond to that before removing you, because you clearly are not sincere. If we have,
I think this guy's rage baiting, to be honest.
We live in Morocco. Let's say we live in Morocco, and
I think this guy rage baiting, bro.
Back like how many years? It's a part of society. So there are, let's say, 10 million slaves in a population of 50 million people. Let's say there's 10 million. Just be generous and say 10 million. Okay, now there is a law in the Quran: free slaves. Okay. Now we free, according to your standards, we free slaves. Do you know what's going to happen? You have 10 million people in the streets, no food, no housing, nothing. Do you know what these people are going to do?
I don't know, because it's
That already happened in human history once. They kill, they murder, they rape, they steal, they do whatever they do to survive, because they had homes, they had places to stay.
Well, at
And
least
the
they are
next
free.
day, free doesn't mean you have a house now. It still means you're homeless. Free
Yeah,
in the
but
past,
free.
in the day before. Let me finish what I'm saying. In the day before, you had a meal coming to you. That was already there. You had a bed where you could sleep. Now, the minute you're free, you have zero money. You have no house. You're homeless. You have nothing. You gotta figure out how to survive. Nobody's gonna bring you a meal anymore.
Bro, this is the legitimate argument that slave owners in the West, especially America, literally argued to keep slavery going. They would be like, but we provide them with everything. Oh, but we give them housing, we give them food. Oh, please let us abuse them more. Look at what we're doing for them. We're doing them good, bro. Oh my god, bro.
But then
There is no roof. There is no
who was
roof
the
or
problem?
place to sleep. The
Then
problem
who
is
was
that
the
those
problem?
people are gonna destroy the society that you live in. So if you don't
No.
understand that basic problem, then I think you're not able to use human rationality and intellect. And if this is the case, then I cannot really help. One very quick point that I wanted to add that I did not mention in the video, which is that Islam generally encourages the idea of freeing captives. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, what would make you know what the good way is? Freeing captives. And Allah has put these mechanisms, such as if you commit a sin, you free a captive as an expiation of that sin. Or zakah, which is the obligatory charity that Muslims pay. One of the means of paying this zakah is to free captives of war, which these kind of mechanisms that already exist within Islamic system would already let all of these people go free with the passing of time, if there is no more wars and no more captives being taken. And that is another point showing the mercy of Islam and the wisdom behind the gradual way of letting them go free, rather than just letting everyone, unleashing them, millions of people in the streets. Anyways, we've had our chat. I'll let you go and reflect upon what I said. And reality is not based on your emotions. It's not based on what you think is the ideal. It is based on reality. The
I
creator
agree with you.
knows. The creator knows what is rational and what would work for people and what does not work for people. All right. So may Allah guide you, and I'll let you go. Finally, this Muslim said something shocking. So let's see.
So you think every human being except Muhammad and God had sins?
But yeah, God is not a human being, so yeah, except Muhammad.
Would you think it's okay for anyone to have a sex slave?
No.
No, of course not. That would be horrible. But that's what Muhammad had.
Here, this person is a Christian. He says it's horrible, horrendous, and they're talking about sins of someone to have a sex slave. That's
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry. I'm so Why am I laughing? Because this is literally like, oh my god. This basically sums up how Christians, like some of the ridiculous views of the prophet that Christians have. That's why I'm laughing. Like, go to a Christian, bro. Like, what do you think about the prophet Muhammad? Like, what he just said there. I'm laughing because a lot of Christians misunderstand the prophet so much. It's hilarious. The level of how they misunderstand the prophet is like so far. Like, I'm not even Muslim, and like I understand the prophet to a good degree. Like, but I do see it a lot though with the Muslims too. They misunderstand a lot of aspects of the Bible as well, like Paul and stuff. So
his terminology.
But the way,
Let's see what this Christian.
I don't know why, but this is extra funny. I don't know why, but I guess it's because of the way how he said it. He was just so forward with it, and just the way how he looks. I don't know. It just made me laugh. I'm sorry.
Christian is going to tell us.
It says, it was narrated from Anas that the Messenger of Allah had a female slave with whom he had intercourse.
In Islam, you can.
Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ had Milk al-Yamin. this term slave is incorrect. But let's hear what else he has to say as well before I comment on that.
Have the sex life only if you were in a war. If you won, you can take their stuff, right? And you can take one of their women and have a sex life with her. But that was before. Now you can't. There is no wars like this.
Okay, well, first of all, there are wars that are occurring today. But the problem is, if that was okay even back then, that's horrible. You can't take a woman from the enemy country and have her as a sex slave.
Okay, so he's saying, look, even if you're telling me, a Muslim person, that this doesn't exist today, even if that was in the past, that is terrible, that's horrible. You cannot take a woman in war. You cannot do that. Okay, let's continue. We're just seeing here the Christian argument, right? The Christian narrative.
That's horrible. The morality of Christianity far surpasses the morality of Islam.
You see, so the morality of Christianity surpasses Islam, and no such thing can exist in Christianity, you know? It's just Islam, man. How could you guys have something like this?
If that was ever okay as a thing, and even Muhammad did it, that's not someone I want to follow.
If that was ever okay.
I'm sorry, but graping, oh my god, graping. Should I take off my glasses? What do I look better with my shades on? Do I look better without my shades on? I don't like to talk about this stuff unless I look pretty. Why? Because if I look pretty, the women are more accepting of me talking about these sensitive topic. I'm not even kidding. You'd be surprised the amount of things that a woman would let a good-looking guy get away with. I mean, look at all the serial killers that was going around raping women and unaliving them. That should tell you a lot. But anyways, no, and don't think that I've not done anything like that. Oh my god. I think at this point everyone should know that, like, I'm the complete opposite. Okay, I never touched a woman, never put my lips on a woman, so don't even go. I'm just saying, like, just, you know. But anyways, but now I like my shades though. They give me more aura. I think my shades give me more aura. I'm gonna put them back on, honestly. They give me more aura, so I'm gonna put them back on. But this is ridiculous. I mean, oh my god, like, people were. I mean, even today, all these so-called Christians going around graping women. Oh my gosh. Unfortunately, grape is just so common. It's just so, like, part of life. It's sad. It is sad. It is just I am just ashamed that most men, for some reason, just don't have enough self-control with themselves. That this has just become a fact of life. Like, my god. So, really, this Christian talk about, this surpasses the morality of Christian. No, look, guys. Earlier in the video, you did hear me talk about the British population hated slavery in the British Empire, and they went on the whole crusade against slavery to end it, right? Yeah. Because, you know, their whole idea was, wait a minute, as Christians, we shouldn't be. This is inhumane. This is so cruel. So no, a lot of people, like, that's a prime example of genuine people, like, following their genuine principles that they're supposed to be following, right? So there is that as well. But all I'm saying is, like, a lot of these, like, so-called Christians just don't really follow that at all. I mean, even women, bro. Like, oh, trust me. I'm not talking about women here, not in this video. But women are no better than men, to be honest. Like, women and men are the same. Like, but that's for a whole different video. This, like, stupid idea of Women are so no, they're not, bro. I'm no. But anyways, like I said, trust me. Trust me. That's where a different video.
And Prophet Muhammad did or anyone did, that's not something I would want to follow. If that was ever okay, look at the terminology. And you look at the comments of these poor Christians. Jesus is the only way. You can never have. It doesn't matter. State of war or peace. You cannot have. Slavery is horrible, etc. These are the comments on this video. But in reality, look, it baffles me. Honestly, it really, really, really baffles me that Christians can talk about slavery or sex slavery or any of these things. Like, honestly, have you even opened or read your book? Like, it really shocks me to the largest extent. Whatever the Bible, all the New Testament says about slavery and what you do to slaves and whatever, there isn't any scripture on the planet that has anything similar to that. Of course, Islam has nowhere near anywhere what the Bible says, but what the Bible says is like it's crazy. I'm going to read for you some verses now from the Old and New Testament about slavery in Christianity. Of course, I'm going to answer this whole part about sex slavery or whatever in Islam. I'm going to respond to that. But first, I want to show this hypocrisy, clear, outright hypocrisy of these Christians. So let's read some of the verses in the Bible about slavery. So if you go to the Old Testament, for example, you go to Deuteronomy chapter 20 and you start reading from verse 10, for example. It says, when you draw near a city to fight against it, offer terms of peace. So you come near a city, you're going to fight against the city, offer them peace. And if it answers you to peace and it opens to you. So now I'm going to go and say, oh, guys, look, I'm offering you peace. If they give you peace, then all the people who are found in it shall serve you and shall do forced labor for you. So all of them are going to be your slaves. So imagine you go to a city, not even fighting, but you go to a city and you offer them peace. And these guys accept peace. So take all of the people as slaves and make them do forced labor for you. The Bible, huh? The morality of Christianity that surpasses Islam. Let's continue reading. You haven't even seen anything yet. But if it makes no peace, but makes war against you, so if it doesn't do peace, then what do? Besiege it. And when the Lord gives it into your hand, then put all its males to the sword. So eliminate all the males. But the women, the women and little ones, the little girls, that are under puberty, the little girls that haven't had intercourse with a man, the virgins. What do you do with them? And everything else in the city and its spoil, you shall take for yourself, and you shall enjoy the spoil of your enemies. Okay.
I really hate. I said this before. In Umar, where I was like, I hate how like the way the Bible and like other just all of this stuff just kind of just talks about women. Like women are always just talked about as if they're just some type of commodity. Like never really like if they're people as well. Like yeah, women, they're just there to for pleasure. Oh yeah, them. Oh, you could have a whole bunch of harem of women if you want. Yeah, it's like, and honestly, I want you guys to like see my face. I'm like, bro, like, that's like, bro, they're fucking people too, bro. That's crazy. My God, bro, like, I always hate whenever I'm like reading something and watching something, and it always describes women in that just like dehumanization sense where it's just like they're just being like lowered to just a level of just I don't even know the word describe it. I don't know, like not submission, no. Just like being lowered to a level of I can't think of the word. All I can say is like I just hate how they're being dehumanized. This view on them. Like my God, bro. And it's so unfortunate that a lot of men on like a lot of men, seriously, like this is literally how like most men view women. It like it's like like most men literally get married just for sex. I remember, and this is like, I noticed a lot of women have normalized this amongst themselves too, where a lot of women kind of just like, I've noticed they kind of seem to just expect it from the guy. And it's like, what? I'm like, oh my God. Because I remember one day, right? Like, I was a kid. I was a little boy. But I was still aware. I was usually always ahead of my age, to be honest. Even now, like, I don't act like I'm 21. But my mom walked up to me one day and she was telling me, she was like, look, you know, I know when you get older and, you know, you're probably gonna like wanna you're gonna like find a wife to marry, to, you know, like have intercourse with her. I stopped her right there. I was like, I was so offended by that. I looked at her when I stopped her and I was like, I will never absolutely marry a woman just for the sake of having intercourse. Absolutely not. Most men, that's why they get married, unfortunately. They're not even getting married for genuine reasons. I'm like, and then I looked at my mom and I was like, if you ever see me get married, it is because that woman and I share a bond. We get along with each other. We have just similar enough commonalities amongst each other. Just a genuine connection that I would make the choice to marry her. I was so offended by that. I mean, but it goes to show you how just ridiculously normalized this is. And it should not be normalized like that. And it's so hilarious because women want sex more than men. It's like most men don't know that, but I'm not going to talk about that here. I'm not going to talk about that. Every single girl I have always said that to, where I look at them and I'm like, you know, it's so funny seeing how like stupid like men get on when women want sex more than men. They never looked at me and said that I was wrong. And guys, women will defend themselves hardcore. Like, women love to like keep this image of, oh, look at me, I'm like this, I'm like that. Bro, every single girl that I've talked to, and that should tell you something, not a single one said, oh, you're wrong. Not a single one of them looked at me and told me that I was wrong. Not a single one. But like I said, I'm going to talk about that in a different video. Most men don't even know that. But anyways, trust me, I'm saving that for a different video. But anyways, it's just like ridiculous to me though. Like, oh my God, they're human beings. Humans just act like people. It is just, I swear, bro, I pray to God that when I have kids, like I have sons, because I want to teach my sons how, because a lot of men are not raised properly. There's not enough people like me who are calling this out as is, telling these men to stop viewing women like this. Stop dehumanizing them. Stop just viewing them as just something to just use. My God, that's why I'm like, yo, when I have children, God, like, please give me sons. Well, I don't know. Maybe like one daughter as well. 2 sons, 1 daughter. That doesn't sound bad, right? I would prefer for my first kid to be a son, though. Like my very first kid to be a son, at least. And raise him properly into a proper man. And then teach him to raise his kids, my grandchildren, like that. That's what I want. That's why I want kids. People, they just want kids just for the sake of having kids, or they just want kids for the sake of some BS reason, like I need to keep my lineage going. No, I want kids, and I want specifically sons because we need more men who are properly raised with my mindset. That is a fact, not an opinion. And this is where my narcissism is going to kick in. But honestly, my narcissism is justified here. My goodness gracious me, man. Like, I'm just tired of it. And the funny part is, I don't even need to care as a guy. I don't need to care about this. But that's the whole point of doing something right. Even if it doesn't benefit you, you still do it. For God's sakes, man. This is not me trying to look all innocent and shabby. No, my guy. Like I said, I'm a 6'3" pretty boy who's only at 70% of his maximum looks potential. I could really actually just not care. But the fact that you see me wasting all of this time, which I still have other things that I need to do, by the way, even though this video is already long enough as is, this still needs to be said, so I'm going to say it. In fact, I'm going to even clip this part of the video and put it on future social medias that I intend to have. But it just needs to be said, bro. Like, my God. Guys, if you ever get sons, my God, please raise them properly. Raise them to not dehumanize women. Raise them to understand that women are normal human beings too. Raise them to understand that women are not just something to just use. My God. Raise them to understand why finding a specific partner is important than just look at me. I have all of these girls around me, bro. Oh my God, look at me. And it's funny because that's basically low-key my life right now. But I honestly could just go around just flaunt. Like, look at me. I have all. Bro, like I said before, I don't give people my social medias because I don't want women coming in my DMs. I don't, because I'm not the type of guy to entertain all these women. This is why you don't see any social medias on my channel. Yeah. A few other reasons too, but that's like the main reasons. Like, guys, I tested this like once before. But anyways, I'll talk more about that in a different video. But I'm just saying, man, like this, God, the over-sexualization of women just needs to stop. I could talk about this on and on, but let's not pause.
So this is the far superior morality of Christianity, okay? Have you seen anything? No, not yet. Okay.
But I must admit, though, like, yes, the Bible does have absolutely messed up verses like that. I'm where the Bible's like completely just, I mean, realistic. Now, I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying, like, that's just reality. And the Bible's just going off reality. Again, I'm not justifying, oh, God, dear God, no. Dear God, no. But like I said before, there were verses in the Bible that, funny enough, actually contradicts this, where it literally says, like, you shouldn't treat this person like this, that, and next. That's why Christians were like, well, wouldn't this technically mean the Bible forbids slavery? Now, maybe in this specific context, because we're talking about a siege here. This is a very specific context here. A very specific situation here. Okay, if this was talking in general, that doesn't make sense if it could be talking in general, because we're not waking up every day in the middle of a battle with siege engines outside of a castle wall. No, obviously not. So it's probably in this specific situation here. And remember, guys, the Bible is a collection of testimonies, right? So probably this testimony that was going on here, this is probably like very, very specific. That's what I have to say to that. Don't worry, I didn't forget about that, because I know some people will be like, why are you overlooking what he said there? No, like I said, I know what I'm doing when I'm like saying what I'm saying in these videos, bro.
We go to the Leviticus. What does Leviticus say? Leviticus 25, you can read from verse 44 to 46. It says, as for your male and female slaves. So we have here male, female slaves in Christianity and Judaism, by the way, both of them. Whom you have, you may buy male and female slaves from among the nations around you. So if someone is around you, foreigners, people who are not from your nation, they're not Israelites, whatever, you can buy and sell female slaves, no problem. What are you going to do with the female slaves? We all know. You may also buy from among the strangers. And
oh my God. We all know it's crazy. What are you going to do with the female slaves? We all know. I know it's like all serious just now, but oh my God, the way how he said it there, that was actually hilarious to me. We all know.
the families around you, etc. And then it says, and they may be your property. Now, I challenge anyone to bring me any verse in the Quran or a hadith that says that the milk al-yamin, which is not a slave, which I'm going to go and explain, is a property. But the Bible is explicitly, clearly telling you, look, these people are your property. You buy these female slaves or male slaves, and they're your property. And you can give them to your sons, the next verse, and inherit them as possession because they're property. In Islam, there's no such thing. Milk al-yamin is not inherited. It's not given to the son. It's not given. They don't remain as milk al-yamin. If the master dies, they're free. No such thing. But in Christianity, you want the superior morality, you inherit them. And you may make slaves of them. But over your brethren from the Israelites, oh, you cannot do that. You don't do that. So the Bible now tells you not only that you buy and sell these female slaves and you enjoy them and you do what you like, they're your property. Is that it? Oh, we're far from over. You go to Exodus chapter 21, verse 7 to 11. Very, very interesting. When a man sells his daughter as a slave. Yes. You heard me correctly.
Oh my
Bible
God.
is teaching you, if you want to sell your own daughter.
Oh my God.
To my knowledge,
Oh
any
my
other religion,
God.
as far as I'm aware from what I've read. Maybe
Oh
Hinduism
my
or
God.
something. But when a man sells his own daughter, this is what the verses are saying. Let's read. When a man sells his daughter as a slave, okay, what happens? She will not be freed at the end of 6 years as the men are. So at the end of 6 years, the men might be freed, but the woman, no, she's not going to be freed. If she does not satisfy her owner, I wonder, like, how is she going to satisfy? How is your daughter, which you sold as a slave, how does she not satisfy her owner? I wonder, honestly. The superior morality of Christianity, the biblical superior morality. He must allow her to be brought back. But he is not allowed to sell her to foreigners. No, don't sell her to foreigners. Other Israelites, this and that, it's okay.
I need to like, oh my God. I ain't gonna lie to you. Oh my God. Bro, there's no defending this. I'm not gonna lie. The only thing that I'm so confused about is like, it is so like Christian, not just me though. Christians literally all say like, oh, but the Bible basically does forbade slavery though. Like, the teachings of the Bible literally forbade slavery. And I know this because this is why racism became a thing. I said in my videos a couple days ago, racism was invented to have an excuse to enslave people, but I didn't go into details there. Long story short, and this is why I said this was more nuanced at the start of the video, but I didn't think I was going to go into details here, but it seems like I will have to go into details here about the Africans converting to Christianity. One of the large reasons why many Africans were converting to Christianity, like African slaves, was because they knew, like, wait a minute, the Bible technically does forbade slavery. So they were like, okay, we convert to Christians, then they'll be forced to let us free. And guess what? They argued this. This was actually a hot debate. So much so because the owners realized, shit, they have a point. If they're Christians, we can't enslave them. So then what did they do? They invented something else. Because before it was like, oh, we're civilized and we're showing them Christianity. They invented something else to keep an excuse to keep enslaving them. What did they do? They looked at their skin tone. Yep. They looked at their skin tone. Before this, ain't nobody cared about skin tone. Well, how did they look at their skin tone? Well, they were like, okay, well, we're going to gaslight these people because we're already lying anyways. So they're going to gaslight these people. Because remember, you got to think about the POV of other people in the past, right? Nobody had the internet. Everyone was like just relegated to their local village. All of this stuff, these countries were so far away that it was unimaginable to even think of. It's like how these planets in the sky are so far away. You know they exist. You know they're there. But it's unimaginable that you really don't really bat an eye to it. That's their POV. That's their perspective. Point of view. So when these people, come and say, oh my God, guys, there are these black, dark, they're super dark, these dark beasts. Oh my God. We need to do something about them. They're so vicious. This is literally what they did. I'm not even kidding. This is how racism, I am not kidding. I've done so much research into this. This is how modern racism based on skin color was invented. This is when this was invented. This is when this was created. And modern racism was never about people genuinely thinking like, oh my God, look at this other person, this other skin tone. No, it was created as an excuse to just simply keep enslaving dark-skinned West Africans and just Africans in general. Why? Because Africans were viewed as the best slave. Africans were viewed because they were strong, they were tall, and they were just more effective overall. Remember what I said at the start of the video, that the first slaves of Barbados were white from Scotland and Ireland? But I never really finished what I was saying there when I was like, they were white, but I didn't really say what I was supposed to say then, because I went on to talk about the indentured servitude and the contracts. They were not good at what they were supposed to do. This is literally taught to us in school in Barbados. They were like, yeah, they tried them, but they weren't really effective. They were absolutely like the climate. They just couldn't do anything in the climate, because of their white bodies, and they were more adaptive for the cold. So guess what? You have these people. They're not really making you any money. They're not really producing the amount of stuff that you want to produce. So how do you fix this problem? Simple. Go to Africa. Get people who are accustomed to the climate, the hot tropical climate of the Caribbean from West Africa. And they were so effective. West Africans. So effective. So much better that they kept bringing them more and more and more. That's why, because West Africans and just Africans in general were just so good. They were so efficient compared to any other race, which is so hilarious because people, the amount of morons in my comments who are racist to me, but yet it's like, if you know historically, I don't know, I'm turning this into a race video, but black people do have the best genetics. I'm not even gonna go into that, but how do you think I'm 6'3"? How do you think I'm 6'3"? Look at me. Obviously, I'm a descendant of these slaves that were brought over. because a lot of Caribbean men, right? Most of them are West African descent. They do have a reputation of being tall, having very like chisel faces that you see here, bro. This is all because of my, like, bro, you see my wide face that I have, you know, giving me the features that I have. No, of course, my face looks like a European, but I'm talking about the bone structure, right? The bone structure. West African people have the highest bone density in the entire world. People of West African descent are reported to have 15 to 35% more bone density than a white person. So much so, and just any other race in the world, so much so that this is why it's harder for black people to swim, because their bones are so dense that they just sink in the water, and it's so much more easier for white people to swim. Seriously, I'm not even kidding. I want to show you my x-ray here. My x-ray. I'll show you my x-ray so you can better see my skull. My thick skull. The skull that is so responsible for my pretty face. Do you see, it should be on the screen here, how thick my skull is? Go and look at other pictures of people's skull. I'm not even kidding. Go. Compare my skull to other people's skull. You will see that my skull is exceptionally like the bone density. It is just thicker, way more thicker compared to most of the other skulls that you'll see on Google. Which again, that's the reason why, like, if I didn't have that skull, if I didn't have that bone density, I wouldn't be looking all pretty. Now there's more nuance to it, but it's like, that's the main reason. And funny enough, you might be saying, wait a minute, but why am I not really seeing your face like that? Well, you partially are. Remember, guys, you're only seeing 70% of my maximum looks potential. What you're seeing in that x-ray is essentially like 100%. But you're not seeing my full thick skull yet, because like I said before, my features are being hidden. But when I'm done with my treatment, it'll take a year. Next year, in August, next year. That's when you'll really see. And even then, even though it's not completely showing, you could still see it. Like, I want you to look at Muslim Lancer here. I want you to look at this white guy here, right? I want you to look at me. You could still see my cheekbones right here. You can see my cheekbones right here. My cheekbones are so hard that they feel like rock. I'm not even kidding. Like, sometimes I like to play my cheekbones because they feel hard as rock. Most people are not like that. Most people, they can't even do that to their cheekbones, my guy. They'll just feel skin. They'll feel soft tissue. This is hard as rock. That is the power of West African genetics. I'm just saying all of this not to flaunt myself. No. Even though you're like, I am a genetic miracle. I do think that I'm a genetic miracle because, like, it's not every day you're seeing a guy like me. Like I said before, I'm not even close to my maximum looks potential. I look better than most men. So imagine me when I'm at my full maximum looks potential. I mean, I showed you my skull. I showed you what's essentially being hidden. Because if you really look at my x-ray that you saw there, you look at me, you will clearly see that, holy shit. Like, yeah, I see what, I understand what you mean by, like, your features are being hidden. Because if you want to look at it, go back in the video and really look at it. You'll see, like, the back here, the sides here, it does matches the x-ray. I don't have any problems there. But when you get towards the front, that's where all my problems are. Like my overbite, my crossbite. I actually even lost bone mass. It's crazy. I lost bone mass. I have to get all that fixed. So even though I lost bone mass, my skull is thicker, has more bone density exceptionally more bone density than the average person. Why is that? West African genes. What is responsible for making you grow tall? Bones. Your growth plates. Bones are responsible for making you grow. And if I really wanted to, I could easily put on muscle, but I don't want to put on muscle. So I'm just saying, that is how exceptionally good West Africans are and were. Now, yes, I have my European genes. Like I always tell people, right? I came out with a European face, but a West African body. Literally, I came out with a European face, but a West African body. Like, everything about my body does not... It doesn't really give off European, to be honest. Except for my, like, more lighter skin tone-ish. But my bone density, West African. My height, West African. Because Africans are tall, too. Like, the tallest places in the world, mostly from Africa. Right? So it's like, okay, that's most likely, like, African there. I mean, the size of my banana in between my legs, like I said before, it being over 10 inches. Where do you see a European with that? African, elite genetics. This is why I said people in Africa, like, this not even a debate. They have the best genetics in the world. They have the best genetics in the world. This is why I find it so hilarious whenever I get comments. People who are like, oh my God, are you ashamed of yourself? Oh, you hate yourself because you're black? Bitch. I wouldn't be one of the best looking men walking on planet Earth today had it not been for my black genetics. I mean, like, even my skull here, if I had to turn here, exceptionally long. And you're not seeing all of it because, again, some of my features are being hidden. But, you know, if I put my x-ray there and you see, I want you Google Ceph X-ray. You see my Ceph X-ray there. I want you Google Ceph CEPH X-ray. Compare my X-ray of my skull on the side to the other ones that you see. You will see that my jaw is exceptionally longer. Way more longer. Way more thicker than the other ones that you see on Google. So I'm not coming here on camera just saying all this. No. I got the receipts. I can show you everything that I say. Anything that I say, it's sensible. I'm not just sitting here gloating and being narcissistic. Oh my God, look at me. No. This all goes back to my West African genetics because I'm predominantly West African descent. The vast majority of my DNA shows West African descent. If you go watch my ancestry DNA, you'll see that. But of course, my European DNA is still there.
Since he is the one who broke the contract with her.
But yeah, this is crazy.
Honestly.
That is like wow.
I don't know what to tell you anymore. I don't know what to tell you. It's telling you selling your own daughter as a slave, and you are talking about Islam and whatever. This is your religion of Christianity. Is that it? No. Let's go to Exodus. Exodus chapter 21, verse 20 to 21. What does it say? It says, anyone who beats their male or female, woman or man, there's no discrimination, and there's no feminism according to the Bible. It's the same, If you beat your male or female slave with a rod, if the slave dies as a result, consequence, you should be punished. But what if the slave doesn't die? It says, but if the slave doesn't die, you beat them, but they don't die. So you beat them to death, but they don't die. They recover after a day or two. No problem. You're not to be punished because they are your property. That is what the Bible is telling you, is teaching you in Exodus chapter 21, verse 21. Now, you get some...
But going back to what I was saying, this is why I'm so confused, because the West African slaves, they were like, okay, let's just convert to Christianity. We want slaves. The white people, the white slave owners, and the other, like, they were Native American slave owners and other black people slaves. They're like, oh my God, no, we cannot. Oh my God, no. These guys are so effective at their work. They're like the best of the best compared to anything we've had. Oh, let's just use their skin tone. Let's just gaslight people. Oh my God. Look, barbarians, dark-skinned barbarians. Oh my God. And again, like I was saying earlier, you're from some faraway village, no apps, no internet, none of that. The only thing that you already know is your local store, pretty much. If you even have a store. Or if you even had enough money to go to a store. Most people were basically just at their houses like 99% of their lives until they die. Right? That's how isolated people were. So when people were hearing like these stories of wait, dark-skinned barbarians that are so uncivilized, oh my God, this is absolutely awful. Boom! That's how racism based on skin color was invented. I'm not kidding. You could go you could look at this shit up. You can look this shit up. It is so hilarious, right? Because people like these stupid morons that don't know history properly, and this is why I stress to teach history objectively. These idiots that don't know history properly, they think that these people just pulled up into Africa and just unironically thought, oh my God, man, we are so superior. Oh my, like they think that they automatically just look down upon them. No one cared initially. Africa and Europe had contact for quite a bit. No one cared. It was just an excuse. This is what I hate it when I see these stupid people, especially these Europeans with their superiority complex. I'm like, my guy, like, dude, first of all, your ancestor most likely wasn't even a slave owner. And second of all, these people didn't even care. They were just bullshitting people and just lying to them because they just wanted excuse to have good labor. Because black people in Africa were the best laborers in the world due to their exceptionally good genetics. Using myself as an example there. I mean, you even see this today where these capitalistic, and this is all about capitalism, these capitalistic companies, they try so hard to essentially enslave you. They don't want to give you good wages. I mean, I talked about it earlier. These capitalistic countries in the West are literally allowing human trafficking. They're in on it. I swear, if these companies could legalize slavery the way it used to be before, they'll do it. Snap of a finger. God, and it's so annoying, bro. Like, these freaking idiots that want to take some type of pride of my ancestors viewed yours as inferior. No, they never did. Quite the opposite, really. They viewed them as so superior to them that they wanted them so much to work on their shit. But no, most people don't know that. Most people don't know that. Most people genuinely think that the Europeans showed up, looked at these Africans, and was like, oh my God, you're black. Oh my God. Like, unironically, that's what people think. Most people don't even know that was just like, they were just LARPing. They were just acting. They were just doing this because, again, they needed to do it to convince these people that, oh yeah, definitely, you got to capture him and fix him. That was the whole idea. They didn't actually mean it.
Saying, oh, no, that's the Old Testament, whatever. Who cares if it's the Old or New Testament? It's your God, the Trinity, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Jesus, who was a part of the Trinity, he sent these commands to the Israelites. And your video
Islam literally recognizes the Old Testament. What?
commenting on right now says at any time, if this ever happened, that's horrendous. That was your words. But I'm going to even give you another icing on the cake. It's not just the Old Testament that mentions these things. These teachings are...
But like I said, though, the Old Testament and New Testament in that Paul video that I did, the Old Testament, it was a different context, a different situation going on. The New Testament was a completely different situation, completely different scenario. That's why I'm like, That's why I was so confused. I'm like, yo, like literally Christian. I mean, I even said earlier in the video, the British, Google the British crusade against slavery. The British population went on a whole crusade against slavery because they saw it as their Christian like duty to like, they're like, oh my God, we're Christian. Oh my God, this is like, no, this is so against what we teach, what we preach.
These behaviors or whatever, it's also the New Testament. So, for example, if we go to Ephesians 6, verse 5, it says slaves, so slaves exist. Obey your earthly master with respect and fear and with sincerity of heart. So it's telling them to obey the earthly masters with fear, just as you would obey Christ. So it's literally telling them, obey your master like you obey God. Because...
Oh my God. Sorry, guys. I usually put my face when I'm yawning. Because I was thinking about that verse that he was saying. No, it sounded like to me like, remember the Bible talks in parables. It's not wise to take what the Bible is saying literally, but it sounded like to me, it's saying like, just listen, follow the laws of the land. That's what it's saying like to me. Yeah. I need to, like, this is why I gotta reread the Bible. I need the context, man. But that's what it says, like, more like say like
the Christian belief.
Follow what you're supposed to follow.
Jesus is God. So it's saying to the slave, obey your master like you obey God. New Testament. Here. Is that it? No. We go to Luke. Luke chapter 12, verse 47. Talks about if a servant doesn't obey his Lord's will. And that servant which knows his Lord's will and does not prepare himself, nor did according to his will, shall be beating with many stripes. It talks about beating your slave who doesn't prepare himself and he doesn't follow the will of his master, basically his Lord meaning his master. There's many other verses I can go on. No.
Whoa.
So it always baffles me and shocks me.
But what's the context of these verses though?
Who have such verses which are unlike anywhere else, any other religion. Come and talk to Muslims about six slaves and not six slaves.
Because I know the Bible does talk metaphorically. It likes to use slaves, like the concept of slavery, to teach like metaphoric lessons. That's why I'm asking the context. It's really important.
Now, when it comes to this idea of slavery in Islam, now I have a full long video.
God damn, 3 hours, guys.
I'm gonna just go through it very quickly, and then I'm gonna talk about a part that
3 hours, man. Yo,
in that video. Specifically,
don't you love it? 3 hours? Yeah, I didn't even think that this would take so long.
You cannot take a free person and turn them into a slave. That is impermissible in Islam. So you kidnap someone and turn them into a slave or whatever is impermissible. Prophet told us Allah is the enemy of three people. One of them is who takes a free person and turn them into a slave. So we don't have that. Prophet forbade us from using the term my slave, man or woman. So we don't use the term slave. That's why we say milk al-yamin. We don't use the term slave because the Prophet forbade us from doing that. The Prophet told us that they are your brothers. Now listen, not your property, as we read in the Bible, not selling your own daughter slavery or whatever, so she can satisfy her master. No, the Prophet tells us these are your brothers. Allah has put them under you. Now, meaning they will do service for you. And the Prophet said, feed them from what you eat, clothe them from what you wear, and do not overburden them in work. If you overburden them in any work, then help them. Islam teaches if you beat or do any harm, damage, like beating or lashing or whatever to any of your milk al-yamin, which are not slaves, then they go free. You're not allowed to beat. They're not your property. You don't just beat them to death like the Bible teaches you to do. There's no such thing. The Prophet told us about them specifically. Not only the Prophet, the Quran teaches us. What does the Quran teach us? The Quran teaches that they can go free if they want. That's how they're not your property. How can they go free? They can go free by doing something called mukataba. So they can ransom themselves for money, or they can go and make a contract, and they can go to the judge directly. The person who has milk yamin doesn't need to agree. It's a command from Allah to do mukataba if the milk yamin asks for it. So they go to the judge and say, okay, for the exchange of this work or this amount of money or whatever, I want to go free, and they go free. They have the choice to do that. But even if they don't go, they do services for you in the house, but in exchange, they eat from what you eat, which means if you're eating caviar, they're going to eat caviar, which means if you're, wearing Versace and whatever brands are there, they're going to wear the same thing. You don't overburden them in work. You help them. You cannot beat them. You cannot abuse them. These are the teachings of Islam. And if they want to go free and go ransom themselves, they can. And you can never take your own daughter or your own family member and sell them. That you don't not allowed to. I just told you, whoever takes a free person and sell them to slavery, Allah is their enemy, and that's a major sin. Imagine your own family member. That's crazy. That's not even imaginable under an Islamic worldview. These are only biblical things. This doesn't exist in Islam. Now, how does a person become milk yamin? We said it's not slavery because you don't beat them, you don't own them, you don't treat them like cattle or whatever, like the Bible teaches you. It doesn't exist. So this idea of slavery, the modern term, it doesn't exist. So how do they even become milk yamin? It's only in war. Unlike selling your own daughter, it's only in war. If there's a war between you and another party, like the Bible mentioned in Deuteronomy when we read. But do you take everyone as a servant? No, in Islam it's not the same thing. It's not like if they give you peace, you take all of them as... No, Islam doesn't teach you that. It's what the Bible teaches. If you go to...
But the stuff that he took, though, most of the stuff that he took, wasn't that from the Old Testament? I'm so confused. Doesn't Islam represent the Old... Hold on a second. I'm pretty sure Islam literally recognizes the Old Testament. What the hell? Yeah, I just had to look that up.
To war and fight against...
It said yes, it does. I'm like, what?
Now,
I'm so confused here. I'm so perplexed.
Directly your milk yamin? No, they don't become directly your right-hand position. They don't become that. The leader of the Muslims has different choices he can do. He can let them go free. He can ransom them for money. He can exchange them with other prisoners. He can even kill them. Or he can take them as a milk yamin, right-hand position. He can look at what is the best course of action. The Prophet, for example, when he took captives in the conquest of Mecca, he let them go free. So it just depends on what is most beneficial for the Muslims, the believers, and the wider context at the time. So it's not just about taking people as milk yamin or whatever. And there are so many rules that if that woman, for example, has a son, then she becomes free later on if she has a son. That milk yamin is not inherited, like we said. If she becomes your milk yamin, if a woman becomes your milk yamin, now talking about sex slave and intercourse with them. Now let's talk about specifically about this idea of having intercourse with them. Okay. First and foremost, we need to understand that times were very different from today. So whenever you take someone as a captive, they already understood and knew that a part of them being taken as a captive is that you're going to have intercourse with them. Now, we're not talking about, the movie where the woman is screaming, no, you didn't my consent. I don't know, how could you do this? We're not talking about this. Life was not a movie that time. This was a part of reality. This idea of taking people as captives existed before Islam and existed time of Islam and existed after Islam. So when you take that captive, the woman already knows that this is going to happen.
That doesn't make it okay, bro. That doesn't make it okay. Bro. Because that mindset is still around today amongst I was literally talking about this earlier in the video where it's like, oh my god, like when we're so over sexualized, like Jesus, bro, like any situation is like I don't know, let's say a guy like kidnaps a girl because he just want money and the girl is like pretty, right? Usually what they do is they just like unfortunately force themselves onto them while still waiting for the ransom money. I mean, it's like, stuff like that. You're gonna think like, yeah, this is gonna happen. But women are no better. Like, it's just like you don't really see it. Women are pickier. Women are very picky. Like, I know this one story of, I'll say this quick story here of, this is from the, what was it? China had invaded Vietnam. This was in Indochina. Yes. Woo. Southeast Asian history here. China had invaded Vietnam. This is like right after the Vietnam War, right? And there was this really attractive Chinese soldier who he was in an ambush, right? And these Vietnamese guerrillas, they were women. They unalived everybody, but they saw him. They saw him. And they were gonna unalive him, but when they saw how handsome he was, they were like, no. Keep him alive. And what they did, I mean, well, you could imagine what they did afterwards. Now, that story gets so interesting because it really shows like women versus men. What those women actually did with that guy is they ran away with him. This is a real story. You can look it up. They ran away with him and abandoned the army, the Vietnamese army. They basically raped him. No, not even basically. They did. I mean, he was literally this story, we know this story because he eventually escapes, but he was telling the story and the guy was like, yeah, they led me away. And he was, I thought they were going to unalive me then, but he was like, no. Instead, what they did was they went and, you know, they raped me when he was like, you know, tied up and whatnot. And this is like not only one girl, this is like group of women, right? Women are very picky, and women usually are attracted to the same type of men anyways. So studies have already shown this. So these group of women were basically taking turns, you know, having fun with him, and he couldn't really do anything. It's like, well, you gotta accept his fate. But they had basically just abandoned the whole army, and they wanted him to make a family. Hey, this is why this story gets insane. They went from taking this guy to use him to literally just wanting to start a whole family with this guy, right? I just live out their lives in peace. I'm not even kidding. That's literally what the guy said. The guy was like, yeah, they wanted to do that. They decided to do that with me, right? I guess that's how a lot of women are. With like genuine attractive men, a lot of women, like once they see like one attractive guy, I'll talk more about this in a different video, but once a woman sees like one attractive guy, she's like, bro, I'm done. I don't care about nobody else. But anyways, so he was like, one of them gets pregnant, gets a kid, which is his kid. And for a while, he was just living out in the middle of the jungle, basically in peace. His life was really peaceful. They even like to the point where he wasn't even like tied up anymore. They were just letting him just like just live with them normally, right? And that's how he escaped. He said that he waited until they just weren't really like noticing, and he basically just walked away and just never came back. And then he returned to China. And he was able to tell a story. He did say that he does regret abandoning his child, because I mean at that point he had a child. He had a baby. Crazy, right? Group of women ambushes a whole convoy, unalives everyone else, sees this ridiculously attractive guy, decides, let's not kill him. Instead, we're gonna use him to have fun. But then they decide, you know what? We're going to abandon the army. We're going to take him, abandon the army. We're going to start a family with him and live out our days in peace together. It's like, compared to men, where, you know, men would just go use the woman and just dispose of her. But like I said, I'll talk about that in a different video. That's crazy. All I'm saying is women are really actually no different than men. Like I'm aware of that. Okay, like
not allowed to beat her and force her into it. That's not allowed. We already mentioned that in Islam, and that's not an Islamic behavior anyways, because the Prophet told us that they are our brothers. And if a woman is taken as milk yamin and she doesn't want to have intercourse with you, she doesn't want, and she says, I want to go free, I want to do mukataba, I want to do the contract. The minute she does that, she asks for mukataba, then the person who has her is forced to do mukataba. And then when she does mukataba, he's not allowed to have intercourse with her. He cannot have intercourse with her. If she was pregnant, he cannot have intercourse with her. He have to wait for her until she gave birth. So there's many situations like this where Islam has all of these rules and commands that governs this idea. So if a woman is like, oh, no, I don't want to do it, she can do mukataba. She can, like I said, do this contract of mukataba and go free, because she's not anyone's property. But if she doesn't, she's almost treated like a wife in every sense. She's living where you're living, she's eating from what you're eating, she's drinking from what you're drinking.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And she's just helping around the house. And then that is how Islam prescribes dealing with milk yamin. And now this idea of like raping them or doing harm to them, this is not the character of Islam. And Islam teaches you to have ihsan, to have goodness with everything. That's what Islam teaches us. And we cannot harm or hate or do anything evil to those captives that we have. And like I said, if they don't want to have intercourse at all completely, then they have the way to go free. But most of the people who are taken as captives, they understood that is a part of being taken as a captive, and that's how societies functioned at that time. But they were treated with the utmost respect in Islam, and this is what Islam teaches. That's how you deal with women. Okay, and the Prophet ﷺ anyways told us not to kill any woman in war. So women are not supposed to be fighting in war anyways in an Islamic narrative. But we're saying if women came to war and we had taken captives as women, which are always going to be the minority because the majority are going to be men. And then those captives, like I said, there will be different options for the leader of Muslims today. But this idea, horrible idea of, taking 6 slaves, and there was no such thing. It didn't exist at the time of Islam. They were treated with honor and respect. They understood that this intercourse is something that happens as an idea of being taken as a captive. There is a permissible form of intercourse in Islam. It is not something like adultery or fornication or whatever. God has made that permissible under all of the conditions that we mentioned. And as I said, if the woman, at the end result, she says, I don't want to have it, okay, go make that contract of mukataba, and then there will be no intercourse taking place. If that woman has been taken by more than one person, then none of them can have intercourse with her. It's another ruling in Islam. So it's not just about the idea of having intercourse. The overwhelming majority of scholars believe if she had a husband, that they don't have intercourse with her. So like all of these rulings, Islam is not just about taking that person and just like having intercourse with them or whatever. It's not Christianity, You don't sell your own daughter over here and you take women for pleasure and you get your woman to satisfy the man that you sold. This is Christianity, not Islam. So to highlight that very, very clearly, if you get any Christian ever mentioning this stuff to you, just show them these verses and say, please. But in reality, even if the person is not a Christian, even if the person watches, look at all of these religions, even if you are a secular person, an atheist or whatever, it doesn't matter. In your worldview, there is no objective morality. You make up what is right and wrong according to you. Your wars today, look at Israel and what they're doing to captives, raping them in prisons or whatever. Look at wars today between Russia and Ukraine or whatever. Look at it's happening to captives. Look at any war today. Everyone is ignoring. There's no such thing as international law or any of this nonsense or human rights or whatever. In war, the worst things happen. And there is no law that abides these people. But as Muslims, we have a law that abides us. And even though those people, the only way we can have milk yamin is that people that were coming to kill you because it's in war. Even though those people are coming to kill you, Islam teaches you they are your brothers. You feed them from what you eat, you clothe them from your clothes, you don't hit them or harm them in that way. If they want to go free, they can do mukataba. That is the teaching of Islam, and it is the most merciful teaching you'll find. Christian, atheist, or whatever background you're going to come from, this is the most peaceful and beautiful teaching and balanced teaching in the same time that you're ever going to find in any worldview.
Wow. My God. Yeah, we gotta react to that video soon in a couple of days. But my God, 3 hours. 3 hours. Guys, 3 hours. You made it all the way here. God damn, 3 hours? If you made it all the way here, bro, like the video, number one. Number two, if you're new, make sure to subscribe at that point. Oh my god, 3 hours. What the what? Like I said, you could comment, you know, what you have to say. All in all, round of applause for Islam here. So there's just some misconceptions that annoy me that he said, but all in all, still a round of applause. He explained it clearly, well, debunked a lot of misconceptions that people had. Like I said at the start of the video, like Christians believing like, oh, but Islam permits slavery. 3 hours, bro. If you're new and you binge watch my videos, you check out the membership. You know, this video is a part of Members Week. Coming, Members is about to start where I do member only suggestions for 1 to 2 weeks. Members Week is probably going to last 2 weeks because I have a lot of members who have a lot of suggestions for me. But anyways, yo, I need to get up, and I've been sitting here for 3 hours. Goodbye. Thank you for watching.